Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 64. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian Podcast, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Guys would like to ask us any questions, you can leave a voice message at the Anchor link or in the YouTube comment section. Today, we're going to be talking about our recent activities, including some old Ratchet Clank games and anime/manga. Then we're going to give our full thoughts on Ratchet Clank Rift Apart. Afterwards, our first impressions on Loki, episode 1 and 2 on Disney+. Lastly, our discussion on everything announced during E3. So first, we're going to do our recent activities. This is going to be a little different of a show just because of E3. So yeah, I think that I'll go first this time around because I've been letting you go first. But, I don't have as much because I have not been watching my seasonal anime. I think I'm behind on one episode on each of them, so I'm just not even going to talk about them. But I have watched a lot of Death Note. I'm still not finished with it. I forget that it's 30-something episodes, 34 or something like that.
Yeah.
37 actually. So I am currently on episode 18. I binged a bunch one day when I was just off from work last week, but I've been working a lot. But Death Note is still good. I think it might be dragging on for a little long for my taste, but who knows? Maybe the ending is gonna fucking blow my brains or some shit, which it might. And then I finished the I Think Our Son Is Gay manga. Like I said last episode, it's a cute sort of slice of life, episodic based manga where this mom thinks that her son's gay and he's doing these weird things. He's hanging out with his friends or his guy friends, and he's he has crushes on them. But the later half of the first volume sort of dives into his childhood and sort of why he is the way he is today. So there's some backstory there, and I like that, character development, etc., etc. So yeah, so far so good. I'm not sure if they're gonna print more in English, but I think that if you want a sort of quick slice of life, sort of cutesy, funny manga, I Think Our Son Is Gay is a good one. This one I kind of started and finished throughout the 3 weeks that we've been sort of gapped here. It's Blue Flag. This is probably one of the most highly rated, highly talked about romance manga out there, I think, of today. So if you guys don't know what Blue Flag is, it is pretty much a romance, slice of life, drama, comedy. And it's about these high schoolers in their third year, sort of trying to figure out who they are, love. There's a love triangle going on there between the main three characters, Ichinose, Futaba, and Toma. And all three of them, they have their own sort of conflicts that they're trying to get across, and they all have their own feelings and things like that. I don't want to spoil too much. I'm also not really good at talking about manga, but it's kind of good. I say kind of because the last volume, so when I was reading it all the way up until volume 7, I was wow, this is really good. I think that the way that they develop the characters and sort of have this journey with all of them and sort of show with their progression throughout the book, I think is good. And then the last volume, I'm all right, so how are they gonna sort of end it all off here? It felt really rushed, and I think that a lot of people online can sort of agree with this, that with how it ended, it sort of just felt like they just wanted to have a twist or sort of have a big change at the end, and then they just flipped it all upside down with the last 3 to 4 chapters or something like that. It felt very out of nowhere. I can see where the author was coming from and sort of putting the characters where they are at the end. But I think that there was definitely room to sort of develop where they end up more, maybe put in 5 more chapters in there to sort of explain how they got to where they are. Because by the end of it, some things happen and I'm just I don't think that would have fit that character exactly well. But it is what it is. I still think that it is a very good romance, slice of life, drama sort of thing. Obviously, there's a lot of romance elements just because of the whole love triangle that's going on there. But yeah, I think that it is very good still. Despite me not liking the ending as much, and I think that a lot of people can agree with that online if you look around. People discussing the final chapter of Blue Flag. But yeah. Still, if you're able to read it and sort of check it out, I still recommend it to anyone that wants a romance slice of life drama with some comedy elements. And the drawings are very cute. It definitely reminds me of the Spy Family daughter. Whenever I see cute moments with Kusan, also known as Futaba, she is. Her and Ichinose, moments with them are always fucking cute and adorable. But yeah, overall, Blue Flag is still like a manga that I would recommend to anyone that wants, a romance slice of life. And even then, I think that if you've never read the genre, this is kind of a good start, despite the ending being not that great. But who knows? You might like the ending. But moving on from there, just to get into the last two things that I have been consuming recently, Rent a Girlfriend Volume 5. It's still where like towards the end of the anime ended off, so a lot of it I knew what was gonna happen, obviously, but it was still nice reading it in manga form and seeing how that all played out, and revisiting the story of Rent a Girlfriend because Chizuru and fucking what's his name,
Shit, I forgot.
the goddamn main character, that
Yeah,
motherfucker, just seeing them do their bullshit or whatever, it's fun. And then the last thing that I watched was Bo Burnham Inside. So the reason why I watched this was, well, obviously, people were talking about it because, Bo Burnham, if you guys don't know, he's like a long time sort of like OG YouTuber, and he was able to sort of break into, I guess, the real entertainment industry. He had his movie 8th Grade, which I still think is one of the better movies that released that year. It's a very good coming of age story about this girl going through 8th grade, and it is very realistic in terms of like the sort of writing and all of that other stuff. But the special Inside that is on Netflix, it is very fucking good. As a person that has been doing YouTube for however long, I've been doing it since like 2008, and I guess more seriously in 2012 when I did this channel. It was very interesting seeing his sort of thought process and sort of seeing him create things and sort of, it's a very real sort of special where like it obviously is all done by him. It was all like a one-man show with him and a camera, and he did all of the editing. He did everything that he needed to do for this special, and it is crazy just seeing it all sort of like put together. And I think that really like anyone, even if you don't like consume YouTube as much as you did like previously, I feel like everyone these days consumes YouTube to a certain extent, but like even if you don't know about like the older side of YouTube and things like that, like just watching the special and seeing this one guy create this entire thing on his own was just amazing. And I think that I need to rewatch it again just because it was that good. I'm not going to say anything else besides that because I think if I give anything away about the special and sort of like what it is and sort of like what happens in it, that would obviously be a spoiler. But I think that if you are a YouTube consumer in any capacity, I think that you can appreciate what Bo Burnham has done within the special because my man's a genius and he knew exactly what he was doing here. But yeah, that's really all I can really say that hasn't already been said about the special. But yeah, Bo Burnham, I'm interested to see what else he does next from here. So
yeah, that actually sounds really interesting because early YouTube and stuff like that was like really different and
mm-hmm.
stuff, or just like how the internet was like not even back then, but it was like that weird middle time where we had enough like stuff to do things, but it was still like pretty like separate from corporate stuff. Like nowadays everything is more sanitary and stuff, but yeah, that's a whole different discussion for a different thing. But that does sound very interesting. Definitely something that I might be interested in watching actually. But yeah, I guess I could jump over to my stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have a lot of games here. Most of them are Ratchet and Clank related because the PSP Ratchet games were something I was kind of neglecting for a bit just because I didn't have a good way to really play them until I'm like, oh yeah, emulators exist. But before I get to that, let me talk about Mass Effect 2. So yeah, I talked about this last podcast. Basically everything I said there still stands here, where I think the game is basically a massive improvement and like, get it, Mass Effect. Anyway, really massive improvement over like everything the first game had. I think the first game really built a great foundation for this world and everything, but in terms of gameplay mechanics and stuff, like it wasn't great. I think anyone that could play it now is gonna see that the game really lacks in the gameplay department compared to 2 and 3, just because Mass Effects 2 and 3 just changed the whole game to be more of a cover shooter basically, which was like really hot during that time. But it still has some RPG elements, and Mass Effect 2 still has some like RPG stuff to its gameplay, but again, not as much as the first game did. And I am sad, again, like I said in the last podcast, I am sad they took away a lot of the RPG mechanics, but it's probably for the better. The game's just so much more fun to play through. And the only real negative thing I could say about Mass Effect 2 is the main story itself. I think it's a lot weaker than the first game, but it makes up for that for having a bunch of like really interesting side quests, and they have a bunch of party members in this game that each have their own like major side quests attached to them that really flesh out their character and the world associated with them. Like maybe you learn more things about another race, or you like learn existing stuff about another race and like just expands on the lore. It's all very interesting stuff, and it really makes up for the more I guess lackluster main story in this game. The final quest is one of the best I've done in like any game, I have to say. Just the whole game's is leading up to that final like mission. But besides that, the main quest is kind of forgettable. I think the collectors are way weaker than the villains in the first game, but that's just me. You know, I think a lot of people think that actually. But besides that, I think the game is fantastic. Definitely one of the best Western RPGs I've played. I think I like it more than Fallout New Vegas, which has been my sort of gold standard for the Western RPG genre. So, you know, I know Mass Effect 3 has a lot of problems, but I am very excited to see how all this ends. You know, it really is only the ending of Mass Effect 3 that gets a lot of shit. So I am very interested to see like how the other like story arcs ended, you know, in the past two games. So I guess we're gonna see when I get up to that. So yeah, I totally forgot this was also coming out. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate Episode Intermission. So this is basically the PS5 upgrade. So Integrate basically upgrades the PS4 version to the PS5 version, and it looks a lot better. It runs at 60 FPS. I played a little bit of the base game just to get sort of an idea how it would play like, and yeah, it runs really smooth. Like everything looks great. They fixed the door. Remember like the door I was talking about? Yeah, it doesn't look like shit anymore. So they fixed that. But the most interesting thing that comes with this is episode intermission, which you get to play as Yuffie. So obviously Yuffie is a party member. She doesn't show up till later, but we're getting a little again like episode intermission here that just shows what she's been doing since like Cloud and everyone else has been doing their stuff in the first part. And it's really good. You know, I was kind of scared because this DLC is $20, by the way. I thought that was a bit much at first because I'm like, well, it probably isn't that significant. It's probably gonna be like what, like 2 hours of actual like gameplay and stuff. But actually has a lot more. Probably thanks to all the side content this DLC has. I got 7 hours out of it, and it's still like more post game stuff to do. I just haven't had time to do it yet. But basically that comes with the new minigame Fort Condor, which was a minigame in the original 7, but it was sort of more like an actual event. And this game they made it into like a board game, which is kind of weird, but it basically works really well. It's basically like this weird tower defense sort of thing where you can place units down, and it's sort of like auto go forward to like kind of like, I don't want to say like TFT. It's more like game modes in StarCraft 2, which is probably why I like it a lot. I played a lot of like something similar to this in StarCraft 2, where you have a few bases, you put units, they walk forward, they attack, you know, the other units. There's sort of like a weapon triangle, like what you call it, Fire Emblem, where some units are better against other units. And it's really fun. It has a lot of like complexities to it. You know, you gotta save like your resources for the right time. You could use spells on the other enemy. They could also use it on you. There's different boards you could use that have different spell effects as well. It's very fleshed out, and I actually really like it a lot. It's something the original 7 was kind of lacking that Final Fantasy 8 and 9 has, where they basically have like a mini game within the game itself. 8 had Triple Triad, which is the card game, and Final Fantasy 9 has Tetramaster. I don't know much about that yet because I haven't played the game yet, but you know, I also heard it's like, you know, pretty involved as well. So 7 was kind of missing that, so I'm kind of glad that, you know, this DLC basically added something like that to 7, and I hope it sticks around because it's actually a lot of fun. I haven't done like the hard mode versions of like those boards yet, but you know, just from the normal version, I could tell it's gonna get kind of nutty from like the hard versions of it. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, besides that, Yuffie herself plays super fun. She, you know, I think she feels a little overtuned, but that's probably because she's like the only party, you know, the only player you could play as, so they probably made her a little stronger than she's probably gonna be in Remake Part 2. But she's super fun. She could throw her shuriken, she could do like a bunch of ninjutsu stuff and like throw magic everywhere. She's just a lot of fun. I hope they mostly keep her like the same in Remake Part 2, because I would definitely use her a lot because she's like a ton of fun. And in terms of story, I don't want to say much because, again, this episode intermission is only available on PS5, which is really lame. You know, a lot of people that have this game have it on PS4 still, and the fact that they can't play the new content is pretty dumb, I'm not going to lie. But so yeah, I won't really get too in depth with the story, but I'm just gonna say it gets freaking crazy. Like some of the stuff they do, I'm like, damn, they are juggling a lot of plot points, and I hope they're able to pull it off. Probably not, but it's gonna be interesting to see what happens because they're basically bringing almost every plot point from not even the original 7, but all the sub games in 7. So like Dirge of Cerberus and Crisis Core, there's a bunch of shit going on. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it, but I guess we'll see. If there's one thing I could, you know, really positively say about the remake series, I guess it's a series now, is all the characterization. They do a good job like really fleshing out these characters. Like I love Yuffie in this game, she's great. She didn't really get a lot of like dialogue or plot relevance in the original 7 just because he was a secret character. Same thing with Vincent, so I'm hoping like they actually like flesh out their characters more in the remake, which well, it seems like they're doing that right now. So yeah, really good. If you have a PS5 and you know you have Final Fantasy 7 remake, definitely play it. I think it's definitely worth the time and definitely worth the money, which I didn't think I would be saying because it has a lot more content than I thought it would have. So I guess I'll just jump to the other Final Fantasy thing.
Hmm.
Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin demo. So this was obviously shown at the E3 for Square, and people hated it. People hated the trailer like a lot. I won't get into that right now. I'll get up to it when we actually talk about it. But the demo itself was actually pretty good. I think the trailer really made the game look worse than it actually is, because there's the meme where the main character just says chaos every 2 seconds, and he looks like he like came from like freaking like Old Navy or something, wearing like a t-shirt and jeans. Like, yeah, it was a very bad first impression. But actually playing the game is a really solid Souls-like game. Again, I haven't played too many Souls-like games, so I can't really compare it. But a lot of people said since this is made by Ninja Theory, yeah, Ninja Theory,
Hmm.
who made the Neo games, it basically feels like Neo but with Final Fantasy stuff, which is cool. The combat feels pretty good. The game is pretty hard. The final boss being well, chaos, kind of, was actually pretty difficult. Has a lot of good patterns to follow. Throws a lot of stuff at you. He's a good boss, and it really does show like the mechanical complexities this game could have when you're not just fighting like trash mobs that you did most of the demo. But from what they showed, it looks great. Well, it doesn't look great. I think the major downside of this game is definitely the graphics. I think the graphics do look pretty dated at this point. The performance was also really shaky, but again, it's a demo, so I'm gonna like give it a pass. I'm not gonna be too harsh on that. But in terms of the gameplay mechanics, again, it all feels really smooth. There's a job system in this game, like most Final Fantasy spin-offs do. So you're able to change, being a black mage, a warrior, or a dragoon and stuff, and it works really well. There's a whole job skill tree. You get different combo abilities specific for that job. Each of them feels very different. The dragoon has a spear, so you're able to like poke from longer distances. The warrior is more like about brunt force and stuff, and the black mage is obviously about magic. So I think it could be pretty interesting. I don't know if I'll get it at launch. I'm gonna wait a bit because the game's still kind of shaky with a lot of people. But honestly, I think this demo really rejuvenized the game. Obviously the trailer was really bad, but I think give the demo a shot. I think your opinion might change on the game. And next, I just have a bunch of Ratchet and Clank shit because Rift Apart was coming out, and
Hmm.
again, I wanted to play the PSP games, so it's sort of like get a nice wrap up of all the Ratchet games I played previously. So Ratchet and Clank Size Matters was actually a little worse than I remembered it being. It was still pretty good. I think when you're actually playing as Ratchet, right? Like the gameplay is actually pretty good. Obviously, the levels are a lot shorter because it was on the PSP. Um, but for the most part, it does feel like a real Ratchet and Clank game, even though it's not made by Insomniac, it's made by High Impact,
Hmm.
which are basically ex Insomniac employees. So they actually did got the gameplay pretty good. The problem is I think there's a little too much variety in this game, like too fast. So there's like a hoverboard, like sort of like arena, which is like 4 races to do. Then there's like a Clank arena, so it's not even like a Ratchet arena. It's like a Clank arena. Um, and I do a bunch of really awkward mini games and stuff that isn't that fun. I'm gonna be honest. And this is a bunch of other like weird stuff that you do, like you play as Clank and all that. So the times you play as Ratchet is pretty small actually, and when you do play as Ratchet, again the levels are really short, so it feels like it's over in an instant. And there's two hoverboard places and two Clank arenas, so I feel like they could have cut the other half of that and just like make another planet or two for Ratchet to actually go through, because it definitely feels like the game kind of like lingers too much on the variety side of things. But in terms of the actual gameplay, I thought the weapons were all pretty unique, or not unique actually. They were actually kind of not like pretty basic weapons, but there's some cool ones in there. Like I really like the laser tracer, which is just a giant laser. That's pretty neat. The armor system is probably the best thing about this game. We're able to mix and match armor pieces that you find throughout the game,
Hmm.
and depending on what armor pieces you have, it changes the effect of your wrench. Again, you don't really use your wrench a lot in any other Ratchet game that isn't Ratchet and Clank 1, but it's a pretty cool feature. I think it's a really like unique thing that even Rift Apart kind of uses, not to this extent, but to the extent where you can mix and match armor that you find, which is actually like a thing I didn't think would come back. So it's pretty neat that I actually did come back for Rift Apart. But yeah, I think Size Matter is still worth playing, but it definitely isn't as good as I remember it being. But then Secret Agent Clank, I played it, and I was actually a little better than I remember it being. This game actually has way more variety than Size Matters, so you think I would hate it more, but I actually do think the variety is a lot more fun,
Hmm.
mostly because Ratchet and Clank's gameplay are a lot more fleshed out. Clank plays, it's kind of like a weird mix of Sly and Ratchet gameplay, where, you don't want to go guns blazing all the time. You want to like do stealth kills and stuff, but when you do get into fights, I think the fighting is a lot better than Sly, where you kind of just whack things around with your stick. This one is just, kind of goes into Ratchet gameplay, just with like cool, like secret gadget type weapons. So I thought that was pretty neat. Obviously, Ratchet doesn't have any planets to explore. He's like in jail the whole time. So
Mm-hmm.
they're all just like arena battles, which is fine. Like I'm totally fine with that since I think the gunplay is still really good anyway. And there's some really cool mods and stuff. The weapons are more unique than they were in Size Matters. And then you have the quirk stuff, which is all like really wacky stuff. Usually they're boss fights, but sometimes it could be like this cool, like you're sort of like in like a play, and it's like sort of a beat 'em up. That was really enjoyable. So yeah, I definitely just think there's a lot more side content in this game, or I guess variety in this game, but it just ends up feeling a lot better than Size Matters did. It doesn't feel as awkward. Things feel more fleshed out. I'm kind of sad this game got a little more pan than Size Matters did. I don't think it deserves it, honestly. I think people should give Secret Agent Clank more of a chance. I actually think it is pretty unique. Probably one of the most unique Ratchet Clank games, to be honest. So yeah, I definitely don't think it deserves all the hate it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a quick playthrough of Ratchet Clank 2016, or the PS4 game, just to like sort of just play through the most recent game again. And again, the game is still really good. I think a lot of the people in the Ratchet and Clank, like I guess fan base, like hate it just because
Yep.
the story is really bad. And yes, the story is really bad. None of it really makes any sense. It's all cut scenes from the movie and stuff. It does feel pretty cheap in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the gameplay is still really good, and it was the best Ratchet and Clank gameplay until Rift Apart came out. So if you're just playing through the game, it's great. Like I think the game still holds up really well. I love the Clank sections in this game. It's like the only time gadget bots were interesting was in this game. So I'm glad
Yes.
that they were able to sort of flesh that out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, I think all the problems I said with the game before, being the story and all that stuff, not great. Also, I was playing this on the 60 FPS mode on PS5, which was really neat. The game
Mm-hmm.
I ran beautifully. Again, I could tell Rift Apart came out. I'm like, okay. But it really
Yeah.
does show, like, even when a Sonic isn't putting all the effort into a Ratchet and Clank game, they can still make a pretty damn good one. So I think the game's still worth a shot. But yeah, definitely, on the lesser end of Ratchet and Clank. So yeah.
Yeah, I think when I when I did my Ratchet and Clank tier list, which was in like 2019 of November, I put
Yeah.
the 2016 game in A, just because I think I played it recently during that time, and also I think that the gameplay was like the most refined at the time, obviously, just because
Yeah.
Insomniac Games, they've been doing this shit for years now, so pretty much pumping out another Ratchet and Clank game is like a no-brainer for them when it comes to like doing the gameplay over. But yeah, I think that the story was really bad, and I think that reflects in the movie's quality.
Yeah.
Just because the game was just a retelling of what the movie was, so which is fine because they wanted to do a Ratchet and Clank movie, and that's how they decided to do it, to cater it to younger audiences. So it is what it is. Obviously, I think hardcore Ratchet and Clank fans know what the true Ratchet and Clank sort of backstory is. They weren't good buddies at first. There was a lot of butting heads and all this other stuff. So,
Yep.
but we'll move on from there to talk about the newest Ratchet and Clank title, which is Rift Apart. We're gonna do spoilers because I think that like there's not a lot to spoil, but like I think that anyone that is interested in knowing like what the secrets are behind like the Rift Apart story, don't listen to what we're gonna say for like the next however many minutes we talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll first start just because
Yeah.
you've been talking for a bit, so
Yeah, go ahead.
just overall, I think that this is a really good Ratchet and Clank game. I don't think it's my favorite, but I think that it does do a lot of things well, and I think that the gameplay is, like you said, the most refined sort of like Ratchet and Clank experience to date before the 2016 game came out, or before this game came out, the 2016 game was the most refined gameplay, but now
Yeah.
this one is, just because it really does combine like everything that the Ratchet and Clank series has done since ever. We now have hover boots, sort of. Because of the hover boots, Clank is kind of like obsolete.
Yeah.
He's just chilling there now, which is kind of upsetting. But I know that they did that for a reason, because there were going to be some sections where you were just Rivet, and she didn't have like Clank or Kit with her. So they wanted to make sure that like you can't do like the super high jump with Clank when you have Clank, and then you can't do it when you don't. To sort of like keep it consistent, because in the end game stuff, I believe Kit is not with Rivet. So
Yeah.
obviously they wanted to, keep that sort of, I guess, in line with, the post game stuff. But I think that the story, because Insomniac Games wanted this to be sort of like a introduction to the series for some people, they made it very safe, despite them doing the whole Rivet thing, introducing her, which I think that her introduction was really, really like really really good, just because this is another Lombax character, and the last time we had one was Azimuth, and I think that his introduction was also very good. So Insomniac Games took the proper steps in introducing her as a sort of like alternate dimension, alternate version of Ratchet, while at the same time having Kit there, and sort of like intertwining their stories together, which I found to be probably the best like part of the game, when like that twist happened, when it was like revealed that like, oh, Kit sort of like took Rivet's arm, and that's why Rivet has a problem with robots and all of that other stuff. But I think overall, like, the story in and of itself is like good. Like, it's not like amazing or anything. I still think that I haven't played A Crack in Time in a couple of years, but I still think A Crack in Time story is like probably the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I also wouldn't say this is my favorite Ratchet and Clank game. It probably is like number 2 though. Like, it's really close, but I think Crack in Time, and I think it's hard to compare it to Crack in Time because that was sort of like the end of the Future series basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it was gonna be more bombastic than this one anyway. But I think this game, they already said, during interviews and stuff, this game was aiming more for like the heart, and like it's more about like the characters and like the main plot itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it did that pretty well. Each character got like a bunch of like character development, like same, mostly Rivet and Kit because they're new. Um, but I think it was kind of like a weird thing they did where like Rivet spent a lot of time with Clank and Ratchet spent a lot of time with Ratchet spent a lot of time with Kit and Rivet spent a lot of time with Clank. So I kind of felt like their characters meshed more together than when Kit and Rivet were together and then Ratchet and Clank were together. You know what I mean? It kind of felt weird that they did that character development because I felt more for Ratchet and Kit together and Rivet and Clank together because they just spent so much more of the game together. So when like obviously I think the main offenders when Ratchet and Clank are back together, they're kind of just boring. They don't really do a lot. And I think Kit and Rivet do have some cool stuff again with like they found out that Kit like I guess ripped her arm off or something, shot her arm or whatever. But I felt like they kind of resolved that a little too fast. I felt like that's kind of what Soniac wanted. Like if they were to remake Ratchet and Clank 1 about like the story or whatever, that's probably how they would do it with Ratchet and Clank nowadays. Just like sort of just like they have their falling out, but it doesn't last too long. I think that's what they were scared of. They didn't want Rivet they didn't want Rivet to be an asshole, right? Like because Ratchet was a massive dick during most of Ratchet and Clank 1, and a lot of people didn't like that. But I think the tension should have been a little higher for them. I felt like Rivet was kind of mad at her, but she was still a good person, saved her in the end, and like she came back and stuff. But yeah, I felt like that could have been fleshed out a little more or introduced, like, or at least have Rivet and Kit meet each other earlier. But for the most part, I think the story was really good. A lot better than the 2016 game, but not as good as Crack in Time because, again, Crack in Time just had a bunch more stuff leading up to it. But I think as a standalone game, which still has a bunch of, like, lore implications for the rest of the series, it was pretty good. I think anyone could enjoy it. A lot of reviewers say, they enjoyed the story as is because, you don't need to know anything about the other games besides Ratchet and Clank are friends, I guess. So I think the story did it did its job as sort of like a good starting point and a good future for the series. So yeah, for what it is, it was really good. I liked it. So
yeah, I think that this could be Insomniac Games setting up for another trilogy, which I think that Damien would be very excited for.
Yeah, I would be very excited for that.
But I think that Insomniac Games, whatever they decide to do next, because now they're like one of like the top sort of like PlayStation studios now. They're probably doing Spider-Man 2 now. They're probably thinking about what else they're going to do next, maybe more Ratchet and Clank stuff, who knows, because with the way that the game ends with Emperor Nefarious sort of being defeated with Dr. Nefarious doing the final blow and everything like that. I mean, like, first up, Emperor Nefarious, like, my man, bro, that guy looks so cool. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, Emperor Nefarious looks really cool. It's kind of, again, the game wasn't focused on this. It was more focused on the characters. But we'd love to see more Emperor Nefarious because he was really fun to watch. Even just with him and Dr. Nefarious, it was just, I love their scenes together. And, he felt pretty threatening, too. He actually, like, he defeated Rivet a bunch, and like he was a pretty big threat to like almost everyone. So it's pretty neat to see Nefarious be sort of like really like intimidating. I mean, he wasn't Crack in Time, but you still were able to defeat him at the end. So yeah, it was just really cool to have like I guess like a more evil version of Nefarious. I thought that was a pretty neat way to like do that.
Yeah, I definitely liked seeing him because I was just like, oh shit, are we like at the end of the game? But it was kind of like the halfway point. I was like, oh, okay. Because, at this point, if you've been playing every single like Ratchet and Clank game, since A Crack in Time, that was like 2009, right? Ever
Yes.
since then, every single game since A Crack in Time was like kind of short. So like when we got to that nefarious boss fight, I was like, oh, are we like at the end? I don't think so though. Which I was right. We weren't at the end yet because
Yeah.
everything sort of built up to this, and I was like, this is kind of happening a little soon. So but yeah, I think that. The way that they did the whole like I guess like dimensional thing with like the opposites of one another with Rivet and Kit and Emperor Nefarious and all that other stuff I found was interesting. But them sort of I guess the lore implications with like sort of reopening the wound of like Ratchet trying to find the Lombaxes again with the whole
Yeah.
Dimensionator and everything like that. I think that everything that happened within the future series and now sort of reopening that can lead to sort of interesting adventures because now we have Rivet, as another sort of playable character and also her as another character in general. But the future of the Ratchet and Clank series, I feel like that if this is the last one we get, I wouldn't be too upset about it. But they are, they sort of did open up these sort of Ratchet and Clank hole again, if you will.
Yeah, I definitely think I make more just because people really like Rivet, and I do too. I think she was probably the strongest part of this game. I really did like her a lot. Same thing with Kit; she was really adorable. But and they'll be crazy not to do a Rivet and Kit like sort of like Miles Morales type game, like maybe a shorter game that bridges the gap between like a bigger game like they did with the Future series, because they're finally saying, oh, we're gonna go to the stupid Lombax dimension that's been like a plot point since like Tours of Destruction. So I'm finally happy that hopefully they're finally gonna be able to do it, because they have to close this plot point at some point. Just find the damn Lombaxes already. God damn it. But in all seriousness, I am very happy that this game was like, it really did feel like a full-length Ratchet and Clank game with a good story as well. After 2016, which felt kind of, didn't have all the passion that you would expect from a Ratchet and Clank game, it was nice to get something like this and shows that they really care and they still know what they're doing with the series, in terms of the story and characters and stuff. I know some people are still salty that Ratchet's not really as edgy as he used to be, but at this point, I think Sony kind of just retconned his character, like ever since Ratchet and Clank 2, really, like he wasn't that edgy at that point anymore. So yeah, the game obviously are being written more like Pixar movies, but like good ones, not like Cars 2 or anything. You know what I mean? So, and I'm totally fine with that. I think Ratchet himself, it's like in all his stories and stuff, could still be done really well, and I think Insomniac has shown that with the Future series and stuff. So, yeah, I know that was the major contention. Like, everyone knows the gameplay is gonna be good, and we're gonna talk about that. But I know the story was a big issue, like a big problem for a lot of people with the 2016 game, and I could safely say Rift Apart has a way better narrative, and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, and speaking of the narrative, I really like the whole point of like when Clank, unveiled that like I fixed the Dimensionator for you, buddy, and then Ratchet was like, I don't know if I really want this, sort of thing. And I like that they sort of fleshed that out with him and Kit and sort of like, his interactions with her and everything like that, like sort of, I guess change Ratchet's mind throughout the game of trying to find the Lombaxes, because when Rivet found out about this, she's like, if you're not gonna go,
bro. Yeah, I'll go.
Like if you're not gonna go, I'll fucking take it, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely like that. There was definitely, even with Ratchet sort of being like this far into sort of like being a video game character, there's still like development there, because with the Future series is literally all about like him trying to find the Lombaxes, but then after that, he had like those spin-off games, and then Into the Nexus happened, and yep, and all of that other stuff, and he was like, yeah, I guess like he doesn't really want to find them.
Well, yeah, and Into the Nexus, his reason, they kind of retconned it a bit in this game, where he's like, oh, I'm like kind of nervous to meet them because I might not be good enough. And Into the Nexus, he basically just said like, there's no real point in finding them because I kind of have like a good life here, so why would I abandon like, all my friends and stuff in this dimension at this point? Like, he doesn't really even know the Lombaxes, so what point is there to like go back there? So that was kind of his reasoning into the Nexus. So they kind of changed that a bit in Rift Apart, but it still makes sense for, to a certain degree, but that's kind of a nitpicky thing. So
yeah, I think that still, like, overall the story is very good. Rivet was always fun to watch, and I always had a good time sort of playing as her and sort of seeing how her character shapes up, because she is a little different from Ratchet, and I think different enough where people can sort of distinguish the two, obviously.
Yeah, she has a little more attitude. She's basically like, how Ratchet kind of used to be, where she is a lot more like hot-headed than Ratchet is like currently. And so yeah, I think it's a good, sort of like change in like character while making like, I guess, Ratchet devolve into how he used to be. So I think that's a pretty clever way to do it. So
All right, so
But I guess
gameplay.
yeah, yeah, gameplay wise, gameplay wise is literally the best Ratchet and Clank game. Like this,
Yeah.
I could say without certainty, like yeah, this is the best Ratchet and Clank game. I beat it twice, and I did
Oh,
challenge
okay.
mode
All
and
right.
like that. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying that yeah, this is the best like gameplay Ratchet and Clank has ever had. All the controls are basically all modernized at this point. You basically lock strafe as soon as you have a weapon out, which feels good.
Yep.
The Phantom Dash is so good. Like
Mhm.
being able to dash everywhere is like such a nice change of pace from just flip jumping like you usually do, because that would
Mhm.
kind of get you killed now. So you kind of do have to use that Phantom Dash, and the combat in general just feels a lot faster as a result of that. The Rift Tether to get around the arena also feels really good. I think they do a good job sort of like I guess building their arenas better, because the games prior would just be like kind of like just a straight line and kind of just shoot things. I feel like the battle arenas in this game are a lot more intricate, and like there's like, oh, you go rift tether here or go over there and get like better vantage points and stuff. I thought that was pretty clever as well. Hover boots feel so good in this game. I
Mhm.
thought they felt great in Crack in Time, but these controls just put those to like shame. Like it feels so good to use the hover boots in this game, as you could do like the Shadow the Hedgehog thing and get like your speed up
Yep.
all the way. Like it feels great. So everything from the controls to the combat, even to the weapons, they all feel super good. I think the haptic triggers really bring the weapons to life. Like when you use the I forgot what it's called, but like that minigun weapon, you just feel the
Oh yes.
freaking the trigger go. And I'm like, oh, it feels so good. I guess my only complaint in terms of like gameplay is, even though I think all the weapons are really good, they are kind of boring. Like they're mostly just like, oh, here's your like blaster, here's your
Mhm.
bomb glove, like here's glove of doom, which we already had. There's only like a few really creative weapons in this game, like the ricochet and the sprinkler weapon.
Mhm.
But besides that, a lot of them are kind of basic, and as a result, they're all really good, but they're not as like I guess creative as the past games were. But that's again kind of a nitpicky thing, but it's something I see a lot of people bringing up, and I kind of felt the same way. But again, I think all the weapons are winners in this game, and they all do like a ton of damage. So I
Mhm.
guess that that's sort of the upside for that. But yeah, the gameplay is just amazing.
Yeah, I really liked when I knew that they were gonna make Rivet playable, the other Lombax, I was like, all right, like they're not gonna make both gameplay styles different, like whatsoever. Like you're 100% gonna have like Ratchet gameplay and then Rivet's gameplay, and they're gonna be the same. Which I'm glad that they were able to pull it off, and sort of, how these sort of weapons would like switch over when you would switch characters. It was like, oh, we just moved it over to your account, and Rivet's like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I definitely liked how they sort of brought that in, I guess, narratively, quote unquote, to sort of make it all work. But I can definitely agree to you with a certain extent with the weapon variety. For one thing, when I saw the sort of like rocket launcher was on sale, I was like, all right, I'm not spending any fucking bullets until I get that shit, because every single game
Yeah.
prior in Ratchet and Clank, that shit was broken. And guess what? That shit was broken.
Yeah.
And because of that, I definitely skipped out on like a lot of like the newer weapons. I did buy the ricochet, but it felt kind of bad to use. I'm gonna be honest, just because you
I
could.
think when
Okay, go on.
well, how late did you get it?
I mean,
Did
I
you get
got
it
it,
later?
and then I started using it, and I was like, I can only hit one fucking guy. I don't really like this.
It gets better when you upgrade it.
I would imagine,
And
yeah.
it's yeah, and I think it's good against bosses because it's like again you focus on one person
Yeah.
anyway. Or I guess a lot of the enemies get a little tankier towards the end of the game anyway, so I think it is better towards the end game. But I can see a reason for that. It is still a really creative weapon.
Yeah. I definitely liked both shotgun weapons. I forget
Yeah,
the one that you start off with, but the other one
the
that
enforcer.
yeah,
Yeah,
the enforcer's good, and then the other one with like the shield. I forget what that one's
yeah,
called.
the void reactor, whatever the hell it's
Yeah,
called.
because
Yeah.
that one, when you like pull it like halfway down with the haptic trigger, you like get that shield, and I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know that, because I didn't like watch the preview, which I'll talk about real quick, because when I would play as Rivet and I would try to like preview certain weapons in the shop, I don't know if you ran into like any bugs or glitches, but like 2 times this happened when I was recording. I like try to preview a video of like the weapon, and then the game just fucking broke, like straight up.
Oh.
So I would have to like restart my PS5. And then there were some other bugs that I talked about in like my review. One of them being like literally in the beginning part of the game, when like you're first chasing Nefarious, when you kill all of the enemies, the door's supposed to open. I killed all of the enemies, and then the door didn't open. So then I literally just like ran off and killed myself, and then did it again. And I was like, oh, okay, so the door was supposed to fucking open.
Yeah, I've been hearing that the game is actually pretty buggy. I was lucky not to encounter any bugs in my first run,
Mm-hmm.
but in my challenge mode run, I had a bug where I did that quest again to get all the crystals and get like an info bot in Sargasso.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the info bot, the game just kind of soft locked. Like Vivid would just like look at you after doing the animation, getting the info bot, and I couldn't move. So I had to like load a previous save and like just not do that because the game would just break. So yeah, I definitely like the game definitely had some bugs. Again, I was lucky to not really encounter many,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen a lot of people had like a lot of different bugs. So I think they already updated the game once, so hopefully like those get ironed out because there's some pretty bad ones. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a bold statement I made in my video where I was like, this is probably the buggiest Insomniac Ratchet and Clank game ever, which might
Yeah.
be true just because I feel like all of the other Ratchet and Clank games that they've made at launch, like there weren't this many bugs or like this many problems with it.
Yeah, even Miles, I noticed more bugs than usual. Like, when you first play Miles and like Miles is going to her mom, the phone is just floating in like the sky. Also had a bug where Miles would just turn into like a trash can or
Oh, what
something.
the fuck?
Yeah. I probably like they fixed them pretty fast, but still like things you notice.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, 100% when I had to like full restart my PS5, I was like, God damn it, not again, you know? But
yeah,
it is what it is. I think that still like overall the gameplay, like you said, the hover boots, like I love the hover boots in A Crack in Time and into the Nexus. So when they brought them back, obviously I was like, yes, let's do it again.
yeah,
The Clank sections, I think that those are probably my favorite sort of like side activities in the game, like sort of like I guess B gameplay style in the game, just because these Clank sections are actually like very good puzzles, and you actually have to like
yeah.
think a lot and sort of like where are you going to put like these spheres to like control the Clank bots and everything like that. Which, I think that the previous Clank sections within the 2016 game were fine. And I think that obviously Clank sections within A Crack in Time were very, very extensive. But, for like today's standards, they're kind of like tame for like puzzles, in my opinion. So like these were like very, very fun ones I found.
I agree with that. I love the Clank puzzles in this game. I think they're just as good as the Crack and Time puzzles with Clank.
Hmm.
And I think Sonya just keeps getting better and better with the Clank puzzles. So yeah, I would have actually loved to see a little more of the Clank stuff because it was really good. You don't do it that much. You only do I think 5 times to do it. But each time you do, I guess each like time you do it is like 3 rooms you have to do.
Hmm.
But yeah, it all use really cool mechanics with the different spears. Yeah, be pretty like clever to like, oh okay, I need to make him jump here, make them way down here with like the certain different orbs. Yeah, just all click together really well. Once you really get it like going, it feels really good. They never really stumped me though. Like I think Crack in
Hmm.
Time was like that one stumped me a lot in terms of like how they got pretty hard. The cunning puzzle in this game were they were really clever. That's what I'll say. Like they weren't like they weren't like super hard, but also weren't like brain dead easy. Like they were a
Hmm.
nice amount of clever. I think anyone would be able to do it and feel smart about it. So yeah, the Clank sections were really well done. I really did enjoy them a lot. I even like the hacking mini game because usually hacking mini games and Ratchet and Clank games are kind of just whatever.
Hmm.
I think making it just like a shooter was
Oh
also
yeah,
pretty
the
smart.
glitch sections, yeah.
Yeah, and really only 3 of them are mandatory. I think the other
Hmm.
2 times are optional for gold bolts.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to do it that much if you don't want to. But for the most part, I thought they were pretty fun as well. Obviously they're not too much to them. You kind of just shoot stuff and like you get like a special move and you can press X to like wipe the floor of everyone, and
Hmm.
that's pretty neat. Also like that she got her own like little character development.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Uh-huh.
like weird. But I was like, all right, that's cute. I kind of like that. So she was dealing with this whole like thing, and then Ratchet's like, oh sweet, a gold bolt, thanks. So yeah, that was pretty cool too. I didn't expect that. So
Yeah, definitely sometimes the humor in this game does hit. I definitely noticed that, Insomnia games still know how to make these games funny in some regards.
yeah.
But the armor, so like what do you think about like the armor being more for like cosmetics now instead of like being like required for like upgrades?
Part of me likes it and part of me hates it just because I do like the, I guess, visual progression Ratchet has throughout the games, and I
Hmm.
always like seeing the new unique final armor Ratchet will always get at the end of the game. Usually they always look really cool and stuff. I love the one in Crack in Time. Obviously the one in Ratchet 2, which is in this game, looks really good as well. So it's kind of like lame we don't get something like this probably ever anymore.
Hmm.
But them adapting sort of the size matter slash a Spider-Man approach where you can just like it's all basically cosmetic and you get the actual power-ups like just by finding the armor pieces. I think that's best for everyone. You get to choose how you want Rivet and Ratchet to look. If you want them to look default, which I did my whole first playthrough, I just
Mm-hmm.
played through the game as their default skins. I think that's pretty neat. But then I just equipped them with a Carbonox armor at the end because I'm like, oh look, I'm pretending I'm like I'm my final armor. But no, I think it's good for the most people. I think most people are really gonna like that choice, and they have that choice to like see Ratchet and Rivet how they want and like mix and match armor. I think for the most part, it's like gonna be great for everyone, and I think it was a smart way to serve. You still get the benefits of having armor while actually having to wear it. So player choice is always good, and I kind of like how they did it in this game.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said in my video review, where I was like, I could see some people really digging this and some people really not liking it, just because it's been such a series staple for so long. Just like buying the armor and knowing that like you'll be tankier against the enemies that you're gonna fight later on. So now that the enemy types don't really hit you harder, it's more, it's going to be a steady sort of like difficulty curve. And then the armor pieces are more for like cosmetics, and you can customize obviously the armor pieces to like, you could have this chest piece with these boots and like this helmet or whatever. And then, these slight sort of like power ups that you get from them, whether it's like more XP or more bolts or like less damage to like the pirate enemies, etc. Like you said, it is definitely a good change. And I think that, some people are not going to like it, and I think that me and you are definitely like somewhere in the middle. I'm sort of like okay with it, but I'm also like you said, seeing like that progression as you go further within the game to see like the different armor that you get, etc., etc. So, yeah.
I guess the last thing I could really say is the difficulty. I played this on hard, not on very hard, but on hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I actually really like the difficulty in this game when you put on those higher difficulty settings, because in all the other Ratchet games, I believe the AI just hits harder, and that's it. And it was still pretty easy to dodge everything. Like, I didn't find the games too much harder, even on hard.
Mm-hmm.
On this game, on hard, you don't really notice it as much. Like, you get hit harder, just like the other games. But on my challenge mode run, I put the game on, like, really hard, and it hits hard. The enemies, they do more damage and have a little more health, but they still go down pretty easily. The thing is that aggression is turned up all the way high, so the enemies will actually predict exactly where you're gonna land when you do stuff, and like the tracking is just a lot better. I think mainly enemies are always gonna be faster than Ratchet if you're just running. Like if if you use your hover boots, obviously you're gonna be faster, but like they will always like be faster than you, and the enemies will always like again like target you way better. Like they will lead their shots basically, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes for a really fun time. I had like a ton of fun playing this game on really hard on challenge mode, because like the game just gets hard. Like I had to abuse the dash, use my hover boots, use everything in my arsenal to like live, because I would die in like almost every combat encounter, because like it's hard. It gets really hard, and I really do enjoy that difficulty. I don't know if I recommend playing that the first time around. I think if you play challenge, when you get to your challenge mode run, I think is worth playing through that hard mode just to like really like see like how difficult the game could get and how the game really forces you to use everything in your freaking weapon wheel. It's just a lot really fun. I really do like the difficulty in this game when you set it up all the way. So yeah, I thought it was pretty neat, and yeah, the game is just really freaking good. I really liked it a lot.
The last thing I guess I want to talk about, other than like the collectibles and all that other stuff, the flying
Yeah.
dragon shit. Oh my god, bro.
You
I
didn't
hate.
like that?
Oh my god, bro.
You
Look.
didn't like Trudy?
Yeah, no, I did not like Trudy. I mean, the first time you're like forced to use it is like during like that sort of like pirate invasion thing or whatever the hell was going
Yeah.
on. And I was like, all right, okay, like this is fine. And then you have to use it to like sort of like complete the planet with Trudy. And I was like, this shit is so annoying because you can only park in these designated spots. And like the game doesn't tell you, but once you collect a certain amount of the sort of like whatever thing that you're going after, then Trudy gets like the other things with like, shooting the fireballs and all that other stuff. So like literally for like a majority of the time when I was on that planet, I was literally just breaking the game over and over again as Rivet, because I was trying to like platform on like these things that I 100% wasn't supposed to platform on. So sometimes like, and this would even happen when I would like play as Ratchet in like certain sections, I would like jump on something and then the game would just know that I broke it and then just like fast checkpoint me back to where I was before. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? So yeah, like the flying dragon, oh my God, bro. Don't bring it back, please. Just don't bring it back.
Yeah. I agree with that. Luckily, it wasn't used too much, so it wasn't that big of an issue. But yeah, definitely, they could have made it way clearer that, like, oh, get 45 of this, and she could shoot fireballs, so you get the ones up there. But they don't say that. You kind of just gotta like figure it out, which is kind of dumb. And yeah, I'd rather just have like maybe spaceship battles or whatever
Yes.
like they had in the other games, because those control way better than this thing. But yeah, that's probably the only like actual negative thing I could actually say about this game is that yeah, the controls on that thing weren't very good. Again, luckily you don't have to use it that often. Um, and I don't know if you have any. I guess we go in final thoughts unless you have something else
I
want to
guess
say.
like like fidelity and performance mode. Like which one did
Oh
you
yeah,
play on?
I played on performance RT, so I didn't get
Okay.
like the best resolution, but I got the frames and some ray tracing, and that was my favorite way to go since I have a 4K TV and stuff, but I'd rather have the frame rate for a game like this, and I wanted to see the ray tracing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it all came out really well. Like I noticed no frame drops at all. Like the game
Yep.
ran like beautifully. So
Yeah, I mean, I played on full fidelity mode when I first played because
yeah,
I was recording and I just like played it on my computer monitor. So I was like, I mean, I could play on 60 FPS, but like, I don't want to record that in 60 FPS because that's just gonna take a lot of memory. And on top of that, I can't even render at 60 FPS. So I was just like, I'll just play on fidelity mode and just appreciate the game for how it looks. And obviously, the game looked fucking amazing. And I think that this along with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, both Insomniac titles, the only two PS5 games that I played, like they definitely look very next gen. And then like when I finished the game, I was like, oh shit, I forgot that there's like another mode. So then I was like,
yeah,
oh okay, so let's see like what this 60 FPS looks like, because when you go from 30 to 60 with any game, you can like 100% notice it. So when I went to 60 and like I was like fighting and like shooting guns, I was like, wow, this shit looks fucking clean. Like 100% like performance mode is usually the way to go. I think that me and Damien both value like frames over like anything, and
yeah,
like when it comes to any game, like frames over everything. Like if it's gonna look like shit, I don't care. Like as long as I have like high frames, I think that will make the game look better 100% of the time. So yeah, I think that performance RT, I'm definitely gonna have to try that out. But yeah, 60 FPS Ratchet and Clank has me very, very excited for the future of just gaming in general. So
yeah. Because actually, the original PS2 Ratchet games were 60 FPS, but they had to scale that back with the future games.
mhm.
So it has been a long time since a Ratchet game has been 60 FPS. So it is nice to both get that really amazing visual. Because we didn't even really talk about it because people already talk about it to death. But yeah, the game looks freaking amazing. It's probably the best looking console game I've ever seen, like ever. Like that's not even a question. Like it is so goddamn pretty. And I know this is a meme. Trust me, I was there when Tools of Destruction came out. But it really does feel like a Pixar movie. Like it really does. Like it's crazy that it really like feels like that. So yeah, the game looks freaking phenomenal, and you're gonna get basically the same experience if you play it on performance, but you get that 60 FPS. You lose stuff, but I don't think it's enough stuff to like warrant like the frames. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, overall, I think the game was really good. It was great to have a full-length Ratchet and Clank game again because it's been so long since Crack in Time
Mhm.
that I kind of forgot what it felt like. I know some people are pissy about, oh, it's like a 15-hour game for $70, but I feel like there's a lot of replay value in a Ratchet game. I mean, Resident Evil 8 just came out, and that's basically shorter than a Ratchet and Clank game, and that was $60.
Mhm.
But again, just like Ratchet and Clank, that game has a bunch of replayability, and you could get a lot more hours out of it. I got 25 hours out of Ratchet Rift Apart, basically doing everything, and I think that's pretty good. Like I'm pretty happy with my money spent, and obviously I was gonna buy it anyway because I'm a Ratchet and Clank fan. But yeah, for the most part, it was a fantastic full-length Ratchet game. It definitely felt worth the money. Again, I don't know if I like it as much as a Crack in Time. I would need to play Crack in Time again to really like affirm that.
Yeah.
Um, I think in terms of like scope, it feels smaller, even though they're all the same length. I actually think this game is longer than Crack in Time, but I think with Crack in Time, where you could explore space and go to the different moons and find Zoni and stuff, it just felt so much bigger
Mhm.
than this game does. Since this game is mostly just the typical planet to planet gameplay,
And
not,
that's
like,
kind of
going,
weird
like, in your ship.
because this one has like interdimensional hopping and shit. So
I know, right? It does feel weird. Also, one last thing I want to bring up is the pocket dimensions. They
Mhm.
were really cool, but they're a lot more disappointing than I thought they were going to be. They were over in like 2 seconds,
Yep.
and I think they could definitely make the platforming harder since you have a dash now and the wall running. I think that makes for a lot of interesting stuff, and they do it a little bit. But I would definitely like to see, because Ratchet and Clank has always kind of been poor at the actual 3D platforming part of its gameplay. I would like to see them really go hardcore with the platforming in the next game. That would be really neat to see, because I think the moons, like the optional moons in Crack in Time, were way better than these, because there were a lot more of them, and I think the gameplay was just better in those instead. But besides that, I think Rift Apart is definitely my number 2 Ratchet game. I think it is missing a bit to be my favorite, like Crack in Time is, but we'll have to see. I'll have to play both of them like again at some point. But yeah, but definitely amazing game. Definitely worth buying if you have a PS5. I mean, it's the only really thing on the PS5 besides Returnal. But yeah, definitely worth a try. I really, really enjoyed it. It was great to play through it.
Yeah, I think that if if you have a PS5, you might as well buy it and at least try it out, or like rent it or whatever. I'm sure like GameFly is still a thing. But like try this out, because I think that Insomniac Games, anytime they put a game out, like they always put a lot of care and effort into it. And I think that this game definitely shows, especially with the sort of like what's it called, like what are those settings called with like like color blindness and like sort of like
accessibility.
Yes, the accessibility stuff. Like every single PlayStation title has really been like pushing this, and I think that Insomniac Games pushing it in this game in particular is like good, because there's gonna be a lot of younger kids playing this game. So yeah, and I think that overall, as like a Ratchet and Clank game, it's good. Like you said, I'm not sure if it's within top 2 for me personally. Most likely top 5. It's kind of hard to like not put it up there, just because of the gameplay being so goddamn refined and so good.
Yeah.
The story, it is sort of like Ratchet, Clank, and Rivet just going on a adventure trying to stop Dr. Nefarious. But I know that Insomniac Games, with everything that they did with Rivet, everything was sort of like planned and like sort of like meticulous with like why she acts this way, why is she doing this, why does she do everything that she does, because of with her experience with Kit and all of that other stuff, and how that all ties in together. I thought that was probably like the best part of the story. And despite the amount of bugs and sort of like how I guess technically messy this game is in that regard, it's far from perfect, but this is definitely a very, very good 3D platformer experience. And I think that if you have a PS5 and you're a platformer fan, you should definitely give this one a shot if you have not already, obviously. But yeah, I think that is it worth the $78 price tag? I'll let you be the judge of that, because platformers are definitely sort of hard to price these days, because they're not as popular as they were back in like the 2000s or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to justify. Like, you don't want to bloat the game, obviously. I think it was the perfect length for what it. Like, I didn't feel cheated out of my money, or I felt like the game was shortened at all. Like, it felt like definitely like a full-length Ratchet and Clank game. If they added any more, it would just felt like pointless filler. So, and I wouldn't mind that, but it definitely would hurt the pace of the game. I think the game was paced really well. So yeah, having it any longer would just be kind of like why? It's just like, just to make it worth the money at that point. But I think I respect 3D platformers a lot, obviously, and I don't like it when people say 3D platformers aren't worth like $60, and I definitely think they are. Like, it's just different gameplay. It doesn't devalue like Crash 4 compared to like Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I both value them for my money. I just get different experiences out of them. But that's a whole discussion for a different thing. I see people like saying like, Metroid Dread is $60. Why? Like, I'm like, all right, whatever.
I mean, but you should never question Nintendo. They're gonna price their shit however the fuck they want. But going back to, I guess, just real quick, like Crash 4, $60. Bro, if you're gonna 100% that game, you're 100% getting your fucking money's worth there, bro.
Yeah, and see, that's what I mean. Like, I think they were scared. Like, Toys for Bob was scared. Like, the base game itself was not good enough, so we're gonna bloat the shit out of it without 100%, and it kind of hurt the game in the long run. So I think if they just like stood by their guns, it kind of just made the game as is, and not make the 100% such a goddamn tedious thing, probably would have been better that way. I mean, they probably could price it a little like less as well, but I still would pay $60 for it, even without like all that tedious like side stuff. So. But yeah, I think that's just how people are gonna be. So
it is what it is. So let's move on from there and talk about
Loki.
that was long.
They have a bunch of water,
but it is what it is. So we're just gonna talk about both episodes like at once and sort of like give our thoughts on the series as of right now. So Loki episode 1 and 2. I think that. Episode 1 was like a very good sort of, I guess, like setup episode, obviously, to sort of like give you the rundown of like what this show is gonna be, how they're gonna. Oh, by the way, spoilers, like 100%. Like, we're spoiling this shit.
Yeah, spoilers. Yeah.
We're gonna spoil this shit because it's kind of hard to talk about a TV show without spoiling anything. But yeah, I mean, they just ran down how this show is going to work. Obviously, this is the Loki from the dimension, or I guess the timeline, where he escaped the Avengers Tower and just took the Tesseract and ran off with it. So we're getting to see this Loki that has an experience pretty much everything from Thor 2 onward, which is very interesting. And when he viewed his whole life, I was like, this shit's going to fuck up somehow. Like, this is like, bro, watching you die like in real time, it's like, nah, no shot. Like, that's going to like not mess with anyone, I guess. But this is Loki we're talking about. But yeah, I thought the first episode was pretty good. I mean, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought the first episode was really good, just setting up this whole, like, I guess, the TVA and stuff, and giving a rundown how everything works. I think it's a really creative space where it's basically like, an office place for like I guess time management. It's like really weird, but I really like it. You know, to really explore like like how there's a sacred timeline and they want to like stop multi like timelines from happening and stuff. You know, the time lords or whatever they're called, timekeepers. You know, like keep that in order and stuff. Like I thought all their lore and stuff was explained pretty well in like a sort of like a cheeky way, like as like an office sort of like training video type thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this Loki is pretty interesting because again, this isn't the Loki we know where it had all that character development and stuff. Like this is the evil Loki from like Avengers 1. So it's pretty neat to see him sort of like, you know, turn around and stuff, like maybe see like things in a different way. And like again, when he saw him dying, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I thought the first episode was actually really good. It really made me invested into like what's going on in here because I didn't really know what to expect from the show really. So I think like it did a good job sort of setting up what's like going to happen. And of course it ended with them like, you know, trying to find another variant like Loki, which ended up being Loki because they say it. It's like, oh, it's you. So, you know, you will know you the best. So that's why we have you here. So I thought that was a pretty nice like twist on it that, you know, the only person that's I guess smart enough to avoid the TVA and like sort of like dispatch all their like troopers and stuff is just another Loki. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely, you know, like where they were going with that. And, you know, it actually also pays off in the goddamn next episode where we get to, I guess, see what this Loki's doing and sort of see how that all pays off. And I guess this Loki's female. I don't know how they're going to bring all of that shit back around or whatever. But definitely when Loki, I guess, inside of like that sort of like super center or whatever the hell, you know, him like talking to himself and sort of like seeing where that Loki's thought process is while our Loki's sort of like trying to like piece it all together and et cetera, et cetera. It was definitely like a very interesting and fun sort of like interaction between the two. This Marvel show, I'm sure it's going to be a lot more of just like time and just like sort of like messing with stuff and sort of a lot more chaotic in that sense and not a lot of action because we did get some action, but it was just like whatever, you know? But I think that this episode with them sort of like testing out Loki's theory of like, hey, you know, like he's hiding in like one of these sort of, I guess, like disasters or whatever, you know, let me just test this out, you know, just go up in there and just like wreak havoc and, you know, nothing changed. Oh my God. Wow. Who would have thought? So yeah, it's definitely, this one's going to be the most interesting Disney Plus show because of that. And I think that several other, like, I guess, higher ups within Marvel and Disney have said that just because of how, I guess, chaotic the show is going to be because of the time and sort of variance and all this other stuff.
Yeah, you know, I actually really again like that each Marvel show has such a distinct feel to them. Like, you know, WandaVision was like really weird with its like TV stuff going on. You know, like the whole like weird stuff with you know, just Wanda herself and stuff. Falcon and Winter Soldier was about what you expect from a Marvel show, being more action based and stuff. You know, it was really enjoyable to watch just from like a action standpoint. You know, you can enjoy the fights. While this show is more focused on, I guess, just being really weird with like all the timeline stuff, and I guess having like a investigator type feel to it. Like, you know, I guess like I don't want to say X-Files, but like sort of like that where like Loki again, he isn't the most like forceful person. Like, he usually has other people fight for him or like other stuff. Like he could hold his own, but he's not really that strong by himself. So it's interesting to see a show like that where, you know, like I guess a superhero show at that point where it's like, okay, well he can't really fight that well, but it's gonna be interesting to see how like he uses his big brain for stuff. Like he was the one that figured out like, oh, this Loki's hiding in disasters because you could do whatever you want because everything's gonna die anyway, so it doesn't matter. I thought that was like, you know, pretty pog moments, you know, like it's pretty neat moments. Like, oh, okay, he's using like, you know, the thing Loki is good at, which is like scheming and like, you know, planning stuff. So him trying to think like another Loki and figuring out what that Loki's gonna do, it's really cool. I like the whole like chase aspect to it. Like, oh, you gotta like chase this Loki before anything bad happens. But you know, obviously at the end of this episode, you know, the female Loki here like just blew up a bunch of timelines and just like is causing chaos. So that's gonna be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, like, I have no idea how many episodes this show is going to be, but already it's like getting kind of crazy because, you know, when Loki, like everyone knows when that portal opened and she like waved by and then the portal was still open, I was like, he's going to walk through that shit. Like 100%. Yeah. Like no shot that he doesn't. And then that's just how the episode ends. I was like, all right, well, you know, that's how you keep audiences engaged and sort of like try to come back next Wednesday to watch the third episodes because, yeah, you know, I think that the first episode definitely was interesting and, you know, set the show up, obviously. But I think that this one was, like I said, a lot more chaotic in that aspect, and sort of just like a lot of stuff's just going on with like, now they're actually kind of trusting Loki, but not really. They're like having him sort of actually help them figure out what's going on. And the meetings with like Mobius and I guess like his like higher up person, those scenes were interesting because everyone thinks that he's crazy for like trusting another Loki, especially since we had like that quick scene with like them showing like all of these like variant Lokis that like they've caught over the past, I guess, years or whatever. So yeah, that was some interesting scenes, and I'm wondering how that's gonna pay off in the next episode because he's in big trouble now because Loki escaped.
Yeah, I really do like Mobius. I think he's a good character as well. Just their, I guess, buddy cop sort of nature between him and Loki is always enjoyable to watch. And they're building a friendship or trust, and now like all that is gonna be like, oh no, why did you do that? But he's, oh, I'm doing it because that was another me.
Yeah,
whatever. Like, it's probably gonna look really bad on our Loki. Yeah, I guess not. It's not even our Loki, but yeah, it's gonna look bad on him for just leaving with that one. So gonna be interesting to see how they resolve that. But again, it's also cool to see all the different like timelines and stuff. Like they went to like Pompeii and stuff, and like all that. Like they went to like 50.
Yeah, 2050. I was like, no shot. Like they just started like listing off like disasters like in the future. I'm like, oh, the global warming thing, that's actually gonna happen. Yeah, guys, y'all better care about this planet now, like for real.
Yeah, pretty realistic that probably Alabama would sort of like ambushed by a bunch of hurricanes at that point. So yeah, I kind of like how they did like the whole like timeline stuff. It's gonna be very interesting to see like where the show goes forward because I can't really even guess. Like it's kind of weird. I don't know why that Loki is a female or why like I don't know what's going on. Like I don't know like if timelines could do that. Like, that seems more like a dimensional thing to me. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens and like see if. I mean, a lot of people. I think they said this is the most important show for the MCU right now.
Yep.
Probably because that's going to lead into the Doctor Strange movie, right? Like the multiverse of madness or whatever. So I could definitely see how this show acts as a catalyst for like a bunch of future events. Maybe even Spider-Man if like the rumors are true about Tobey Maguire and the other guy, Andrew Garfield, showing up. So yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see like how this show actually resolves because I don't think they're gonna fix it at the end of it. So.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot going on within the Loki show, and I think a lot of people are for it just because Loki as a character, he's very chaotic. He's he's a goddamn trickster. He stabs everyone in the back, etc. So just seeing how the show plays out with him as the main character, and this show sort of reflecting that in some regards because of his chaotic nature, I think, is good. So yeah, overall, I think. So far, so good. We're only 2 episodes in out of however many that they are going to make. So,
yeah, overall, really good start. I basically say that about every Marvel show, but they've been all really good. So, yeah, definitely liking what I'm seeing, and I'm very excited to see how the whole show unfolds for the rest of the MC. Because this one, unlike the other 2 shows, were more character development for for Falcon and Wanda and Vision. This one's definitely going to be both character development for Loki and moving the the franchise forward. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. So.
Yeah. All right. So the rest of the show is pretty much going to be E3 talk and whatever gaming news that popped up during the E3 week. That sort of interested us. Obviously, there was so much announced and sort of, put out there into the gaming sphere over the past week. We're not going to talk about everything. We're just going to talk about the stuff that we believe is interesting to us and that we can actually talk about and discuss. So the first thing is something that happened a little before E3, but this was a Q&A with Herman H. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name, but pretty much he gave us some updates on some future PlayStation titles. So first off, God of War 2 is delayed to 2022. I think that is not a really big surprise there, especially since...
No, not at all.
So she says, COVID is still a threat out there. It might not be a huge threat as it was last year, but it is still a threat. So, delays are bound to happen. And also, God of War 2 and Gran Turismo 6, I don't know why I said Grant. What the fuck? Gran Turismo 7, Gran Turismo 7 are going to be cross-gen, so it will be released on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, which is good because I think that Sony are very much aware about the supply and demand that they are lacking with the PlayStation 5 because there's a huge demand for it and they just don't have enough supply. And then Horizon Forbidden West is set to launch holiday, but it is not a concrete date yet. And I believe that title is also cross-gen. So
yes, yeah. So basically, Ratchet is going to be the only PS5 exclusive for a while. So
along with Returnal, right?
And Returnal as well, yes.
And yeah. Demon Souls
as well, and I think that's it. Yeah. I guess if you want to count episode intermission from 7 remake because you can only play it on PS5 for some reason. But yeah, there's not too many PS5 exclusives, and we're probably not gonna see like a full exclusive to like either Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch or again a Soniac. Like I don't know what. They definitely want to like make the PS4 last until the PS5 has more stock to release, because obviously it's been really rough to get one for anyone that doesn't have one yet.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that like the way that they're gonna get around it is that one thing I've noticed is that like with a lot of PlayStation titles, I guess since like the PlayStation 3, is that like they literally just like load the full game, and then like when you start playing the game, there's like no loading times in between. So
Yeah.
that was obviously since the PlayStation 3, and they've been doing it since even going on to the PS4. I believe The Last of Us Part 2 still does that, where like it loads the full game, and then you just play it, and then if you happen to get to the end, you got to the end, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm sure that they're gonna do the same thing with God of War 2, especially. Gran Turismo, it's a goddamn racing game. I don't know much about it, so it's not gonna be that hard to do cross-gen. But obviously, if you do get it on the PS5, I'm sure that there's gonna be performance mode, fidelity mode, all of that other bells and whistles that the PS5 offers. So that's gonna be very exciting.
Yeah, and speaking of exciting, well, not any of us though, but Elden Ring showed a gameplay trailer. It's coming out January 21st, 2022. So straight up, like the first month of 2022, we're getting Elden Ring. Actually, 2022 is looking stack as shit. Like there's a lot of things coming out next year, which is pretty neat. But yeah, so Elden Ring. So both of us aren't Souls like fans. Like I haven't played any Soulsborne game yet. Yeah, I will at some point. But obviously a lot of people are very excited for this. And basically, it looks like Dark Souls, but it's like I don't know if it's a full open world or sort of like a more like semi-open world, because I wouldn't say the Dark Souls games are linear, not by a long shot. They're more like Metroidvania type games, I guess, like where like you can explore things and there's different things you could do and stuff. But none of them are like to this scale. This is supposed to be like From Software's like sort of biggest game they've made so far, and it got people really excited. Again, from what I've seen, it looks good, but again, I'm not a Soulsborne fan, so I can't really share the excitement. I was just more excited for people to get a trailer for it with a release date. So this plus Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be a very contentious game of the year next year. That's what I will say. But yeah, again, from what they showed, looks good. Some people aren't too happy with how the graphics look. Like it looks a little not as good as they thought, but that makes sense because this game's probably been in development for a while. So yeah, from what I've seen, it looks pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, Elden Ring, when people were losing their shit on Twitter about it, I was like, oh, they announced another Skyrim? What? I don't know what's going on,
All right.
So,
All right.
that's just me joking. That's just me joking. But anyways, like I had no idea what the hell was going on. I was like, all right, people are losing their shit over this game. So let me, do a little bit of research. And yeah, it's from Software. It's the next sort of Souls-like game, and this has been, I guess, on people's minds for a very long time. And I don't know when it was announced. I think it was like maybe 2 years ago or something like that. But
yeah, it was only like 2 years ago. People were freaking out because oh, it's only been like 2 years since they showed it. Like some people wait, like yo. Speaking of like Psychonauts 2, I waited like 6 years for that. Right? We'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah, where's Bayonetta 3? Who the fuck knows? But
yeah, Bayonetta 3 still like absent. So.
But Elden Ring, I'm sure that there's a lot of people excited for it. It is going to be cross-gen. So to those that don't have a PS5 or a Xbox Series X, S yet, whatever, you're going to be able to play it. And obviously it's going to be on PC. So, January 21st, 2022. It's kind of close, so hopefully it doesn't get delayed, but I'm sure a lot of people are holding their breath and sort of just waiting for it to, come out and be on store shelves. But even then, hopefully the game is complete, because, after Cyberpunk, I think a lot of people are sort of hesitant to see whether a game is, actually complete or not when it gets out to the door. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially big, ambitious games like this. So, yeah, I'll say wait for reviews, but, they're going to buy it anyway. So.
Next announcement we got here was actually leaked before it was officially announced. It is the Mario Rabbids sequel, Sparks of Hope. So yeah, Mario and Rabbids, that probably did very well for Ubisoft and Nintendo. And Ubisoft was like, well, can we do another one? Maybe make it a little bit harder. Maybe make it, sort of, I guess, more for gamers and not just like people just getting into the sort of like RTS genre.
It's a tactics game, actually.
My bad, but hopefully this one is you're building upon what the previous game offered and sort of advances that, because the Rabbids, they're just whatever.
Yeah, no one likes the rabbit. Like no one. I think that's why everyone was so negative on the first game when it first showed up, because no one likes the Rabbids at all. Like, but Ubisoft keeps putting them on things. But I didn't talk about it here, but I have been playing a bit of the first game, just like I guess because it's been in my backlog forever. I wanted to play it for a while
Hmm.
because when it first came out, people were like actually really liked it. It was like a
Yeah.
super good game, and I keep hearing that even when this game came out, everyone was keep saying, yeah, the first game was like way too good for its for its own good.
Hmm.
And me playing it right now, and yeah, it is like an extremely good XCOM game basically because that's what it is. It's XCOM. You have cover, half cover. You got percentage chances. Like the game is literally just XCOM and Mario plus Rabbids with really unique mechanics. I won't really go into until next week, but or 2 weeks from now. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, the game definitely has a lot of depth to it, and it's actually like harder than I thought it would be. Like obviously nothing like too bad right now, but the game definitely challenges you way more than I thought it would. And it seems like from the trailers they shown here, the game looks like it's getting rid of its grid format. Like it's more like free movement because the first game kind of plays like how you would expect, like there's tiles on the map and you could like move to certain tiles and do certain things. This game looks like it's a lot more free flowing with where you can move. So I wonder how that's going to affect the combat in any way. So and it looks like there's random encounters as well. Well, not random encounters, but like you could like hit an enemy and then goes right into a battle, which is pretty neat. So I don't know if it's going to be more of an RPG this time around than just a straight up Texas game, but it definitely does look pretty interesting. And yeah, I guess I'm excited for it now because I am liking the first game. So
Yeah, I think I bought the first game when it was on sale because I was like, this is a Ubisoft title. This shit gonna go on sale, like 100%.
yeah.
But it is sort of a Nintendo title technically. So when it isn't on sale, it is for $60. But if you are interested in this game or interested within the first game, anyways, wait for it to go on sale. I believe it's on sale right now. So
Yeah, it's on sale right now for like $10.
yeah.
So.
If you're able to get it for that price, definitely check it out. I think that this is definitely a Mario spin-off crossover game that I think no one really expected to be as good as it was, and I'm glad that it is because whenever Nintendo does any sort of, I guess, cross or like collaboration, if I will, they are always hesitant about it, and they always want to make sure that it is met up to their quality. So I'm glad that this one was good enough to get a sequel, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that probably wanted more of Mario and Rabbids. They want more of that sort of XCOM Nintendo Mario flair. So they're gonna get that in 2022. We don't know when, but it is gonna happen sometime next year.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad that this is probably the best like Mario RPG, even though it's not really an RPG since like ever. So yeah, that's kind of sad. But anyway, we got a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is getting next gen versions, by the way. I played that game; it's really good. I played it on PC, so I didn't have to like work with the 30 FPS or whatever. I was able to play it on max settings and stuff. But my brother actually played it on the Xbox One, and yeah, the game ran pretty rough. The game was kind of pushing the current or I guess last gen consoles at this point to their like limit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have a full next gen version to get all those nice frames and stuff. So and I definitely think it's worth playing. It's definitely like one of the like good Star Wars games that's come out in recent years, and hopefully Respawn could do another one because it was really good. But I doubt that they're busy with Apex. So. But it is really good. I definitely recommend it to anyone that's like a Star Wars fan, or even like a I guess a Dark Souls fan, because the game's kind of structured like one for some reason. But yeah, it's really good. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually played it. Because I don't know why I started it, I was liking it, and then I just like stopped playing it. I forget exactly what happened. Maybe I was just watching more anime or whatever. But
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order, it is a really really good game, and if you want to play it on next gen consoles now, you can. And that is very very cool. I believe that this was rumored before they officially announced it. But yeah, I'm not sure if this is gonna get like a full like re-release or whatever, or if it's just like the free upgrade sort of thing. But yeah, I'm glad that they were able to put it on next gen consoles. Just because, like you said, the game does run a little rough on the PS4 / the Xbox. So glad that they were able to probably smoothen that out, and also add 4K visuals, 60 FPS, all of the bells and whistles that we sort of expect nowadays for console gaming. So.
Yeah, so I guess Starfield.
Yes, Starfield. Let's talk about Starfield. This is Bethesda's, I guess, next game after the sort of like Elder Scrolls thing or whatever.
Well, okay, so this is a new IP. So Starfield is a new IP, like a new brand new open world RPG. The things they usually do. The last game was Fallout 76, which wasn't very good. But people like it a lot now, I guess. But I'm not convinced. So. But anyway, yeah, so Starfield's basically the next big thing. They're still working on Elder Scrolls 6. They're still making that apparently. But that probably isn't coming out for a long time. So Starfield is what we're getting right now, and the teaser it's a typical E3 trailer where it's like all CG, doesn't really show much besides like a sort of like the theming of what they want for the game. And it's going for more like a sort of like a realistic space game. So nothing like no like Mass Effect type stuff or Star Wars with the starships and aliens and stuff. Like it's very much like astronauts and like actual like spaceships and stuff. So I'm curious how that's gonna translate into like an RPG and stuff. Like obviously it's probably gonna get really sci-fi once the game actually starts. Like I don't I expect to see like some aliens or whatever because it has to be kind of interesting like that. But I kind of do like the more grounded feel to it. Having it more like that and stuff. So. But again, there's not much to really talk about besides the release date being 11/11/22 because they want to do the Skyrim thing again, but it doesn't really work when it's not 11 again. But whatever. So it's coming out November 11th, 2022. If it's gonna stick to that, I don't know.
Hmm.
But I'll be very interested to see some actual gameplay when we get closer to that release date. So I guess next E3 is when we're actually gonna see like a big presentation how the game is gonna be like. So yeah, kind of exciting. But again, I thought Fallout 4 was kind of bad, so I guess we'll see when this game came out. So.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I don't got much of an opinion. I'm not a Bethesda gamer, if you will. But
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I am either, but like I really like New Vegas, but that wasn't even made by them. That was Obsidian. So yeah, now I talked about something I'm very excited about. Psychonauts 2 finally has a release date, being August 25th. So they showed this game in 2015. That's when they showed this game. And it's been so goddamn long. I'm so happy it's finally coming out. I'm really happy that Microsoft bought them because apparently they weren't even gonna add bosses because they ran out of money. So it's like, oh, we just won't have bosses. You're just gonna be the game. But Microsoft stepped in and was like, no, no, no. You add back the bosses. So it's like, okay. So yeah, that is actually really good that Microsoft ended up buying Double Fine so they could be able to really flesh out the game, add all the content. They cut it out, from the lack of funding and stuff. And yeah, it looks great. The game still looks really good. It has that really weird art style. I'm really happy they didn't change that. It basically looks like a 90s Nick show. Like it still looks like that. The platforming looks great. I saw like a bunch of new mechanics that Raz could do and stuff. So very interested in playing this game. I love Psychonauts 1. Definitely a cult classic at this point. A lot of people like it, but damn, like I think it's one of my favorite platformers besides like stuff like Galaxy and like Ratchet and Clank and stuff. So definitely up there in terms of my favorite platformers. This has such a unique feel and style to it. Very cynical. Like the humor is really good in the game. So hopefully it keeps that with like Psychonauts 2. So yeah, very excited for this game, and I'm happy it's finally coming out really soon.
yeah, I mean, as a person that played a little bit of Psychonauts, I definitely have to get back on that and actually play it and finish it. I really like the wacky colors, and obviously the character designs still stay true to what the original game sort of went for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see that this game actually finally come out because I didn't even know that it was that long when this game was initially announced. I feel like that it was not that long ago when they officially announced Psychonauts 2, but Double
I
Fine,
remember.
classic Double Fine, them in funding
Yeah.
and them not actually knowing how to properly plan out a
Yeah.
game, unfortunately. But now that they're under Microsoft, hopefully Xbox can be like, all right, guys, y'all gotta need a like playing step 2 and 3 like right now before we do anything else. So yeah.
So yeah, very, very excited for that. I want it now.
All right, we got Back for Blood. There was a PvP trailer that they showed. So
Yeah.
yeah, this game it's pretty much a Left 4 Dead sort of spiritual successor. And yeah, I mean it still looks like Left 4 Dead in a way, but with just new people behind it, new actual characters, new setting, and it's gonna release this fall in October 12th. So yeah, I mean, I think that zombies in general has been played out so much, especially since I guess The Walking Dead sort of popped off. But getting a new zombie game is actually kind of, I'm not gonna say refreshing, but is definitely I guess a blast from the past, if you will, because I used to play Left 4 Dead a lot, whether it be on console or PC with just friends to just like fuck around or whatever. So I'm glad we can do that again with Back for Blood. So.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Obviously, I also love Left 4 Dead 2 and 1. I mean, I used to love Valve until they stopped making games, so it's really cool to see Back for Blood sort of pick up that slack. And everyone that's played it has like nothing but good things to say about it. I think the only like thing that gets people a little concerned is the card system. Like they have like this thing where you could equip people with cards and stuff. And I don't know if there's microtransactions. Like they say everything could be earned in game, but they always say that. So
Mm.
we'll see when it comes out if like the microtransactions are like bad in particular. But for the most part, it looks really good. You know, it just looks like Left 4 Dead if made in the current era, and I'm very excited for it. You know, I love Left 4 Dead games. I played a bit of Vermintide 2, which is basically Left 4 Dead but with like Warhammer type stuff, and it was really fun. You know, I kind of just missed that gameplay. So having like a big budget one like this, I'm very excited for. And you know, if you were into the Left 4 Dead PvP mode, then this one's basically the same thing where you can play as the infected and stuff.
Hmm.
I never was a big fan of that, but you know, it's there if people want to play it. So that's also pretty neat as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, speaking of more multiplayer stuff, we got the Halo Infinite multiplayer. So they still didn't show really anything of the single player. I guess Microsoft and 343 are still scared from like the backlash they got last time. So okay, we're just gonna show the multiplayer this time. And it looks great. You know, like, I think it looks back to what Halo was really good at, just being dumb fun. You know, you have a grappling hook now, and you can like grab things and throw it at people, and it just looks like fun. I think the other Halo games were more focused on being more like esporty and stuff, and people didn't like that. So it looks like they're going back to more like wacky stuff, which is what I always like Halo multiplayer for. You know, I actually played when Reach came out on PC. I was having such a fun time because I forgot just how fun those games could be when you're just not focused on winning all the time. And that's sort of my problem with a lot of like FPSs that got released nowadays is like they're really focused on esports and trying super hard. Sometimes I just want to like shoot people and just have fun. It's kind of why I like TF2 a lot back in the day. But I'm glad Halo Infinite seems to probably be going back to that style of multiplayer. And right now, its only release date is holiday. There's still no like definitive release date, and I don't think Microsoft could really afford to like delay this game again. So it probably is coming out this year, but you know, hopefully it's actually like good. Also, the multiplayer is free, by the way. But I think they mentioned that before. But yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I believe that there was a leak that this is gonna come out like November or something or whatever, but that got retracted instantly. I believe it was from like one of like the foreign like Microsoft accounts on Twitter. But anyways, Halo Infinite multiplayer. I mean, I think that the multiplayer being free to play is like obviously a good move. I think that getting more people involved within Halo, especially within 2022 or 2021 or whatever, is a good idea because Halo is such, I guess, like an old series. It's going to be hard to get people back into it, especially since some people are like, really, more Halo, you know, sort of thing. So I think that them making the multiplayer how it is, free to play, first off, is obviously a good move. And then also just making it look like it's a lot of fun and adding the grappling hook and sort of adding new things to make it sort of fresh and new. While keeping it still Halo to make it, you know, look like Halo, make it feel like Halo, all of this other stuff is going to be fun. And I had a lot of fun playing Halo 4 multiplayer on Xbox 360. That's going to sound weird because a lot of people don't regard that multiplayer for Halo as all that good. But I honestly had a lot of fun playing Halo 4 multiplayer when it was like, I guess, you know, new. I had a lot of fun playing it. For some reason, I had no idea. I just started playing it and I was like, wow, like this is like really, really fun. And, you know, when I went back to play it, I forget, it was like a couple years ago because it was so long since I held like a controller to like play a first person shooter. I was just so bad. I was like, get me out. So, you know, when this comes out, I'm sure that it's going to be on PC and I'm sure that it's going to be a lot of fun because, you know, it's going to be free to play. So you can literally get any of your friends that has a strong enough PC to really run it and just sort of play with them. And I think that will probably be the height of like Halo multiplayer is when this game first comes out, which really you can say that with any free to play game at all, like period, just because like when it comes out, everyone's going to be playing it. So hopefully, you know, there's enough people to play it and sort of see how good it is, and hopefully that, you know, 343 are able to update it enough to keep it interesting because, you know, despite the game being free, you got to, you know, sort of change the game enough or add new things to keep players engaged. So yeah, I think that, you know, this is going to be fun. I think that Halo could be back on the map because of this, or it could break it. Who knows? And I'm not sure if they're going to do the Battle Royale thing. I'm sure that was like rumored or some shit like a couple months ago about them doing like a Halo Battle Royale. I'm not sure if they're still going to go through with that. I think that would be a lot of fun, but I don't know if they're actually going to do that now. So who knows?
Yeah, because that was like rumored like when the game was first teased. Oh, it's gonna be a battle royale, but I don't think that's happening anymore because battle royale's kind of like they're still there, but it definitely isn't like, you know, worth investing in like into it at this point, you know. So I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah. Next thing we got here is the Guardians of the Galaxy game was announced by Square Enix. So I guess that this is the quote unquote sequel to the Avengers game that they did. And it didn't do so well, guys. And honestly, when I first saw like screenshots of this game, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This shit does not look that great. But I haven't watched any gameplay of it or like really had like a really good time to like really sit down and really look at it. All I know is that Star-Lord is only playable.
Yeah.
And you control the other Guardians and sort of like control and like sort of, I guess, command them to do what you want. And I'm sure that there's going to be like decisions that you have to make as like, Star-Lord as like the main person. And it's going to be just like, third person over the shoulder, single player driven. And it is also going to be on Switch through the cloud streaming or whatever. So that's going to be interesting. And this game is coming out later this year in October on the current gen with the PS5 and Xbox Series X/S, and on the last gen and PC. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to think of it just because I think that Square Enix, with their Avengers game wasn't all that great. I'm sure that they could try to turn it around with this one, but I'm just going to have to wait and see for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, well, Avengers was made by Crystal Dynamics, and obviously they're doing their thing. But this one is made by Eidos, which made I believe they made the Deus Ex games. So this is the thing they've been working on for like a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it definitely looks a lot better than Avengers did. Well, like, because one, they're focusing on single player. I think that's why I immediately piqued my interest. I'm like, oh, you're not doing some weird like microtransaction filled thing like with what do you call them, like a looter shooter type thing. So no, it's like single player story driven third person game. Like that's great. Star-Lord only being playable is a little weird. Apparently there was some interview where they said they wanted to make the other characters playable, but due to the pandemic they couldn't really make that happen because like they wanted the game to release this year. So they only made Star-Lord playable and try to make him as fun as he could be, and I think that's fair. I think if they do end up doing a sequel to this game is successful, they could expand a roster where you can play as the rest of the Guardians. I think that would be pretty neat, obviously. But I think issuing commands and stuff is pretty fine as well. It seems like the game is more leaning towards being like an action RPG, and it kind of reminds me of 7 Remake, where you could kind of command all your people to like attack or whatever. Obviously, you got to play as them in 7 Remake, so hopefully the next game, this game is successful, does that. But only playing as Star-Lord, I'm okay with it as long as the gameplay is like good as him, and it does look pretty fine. Like you could like fly around with like little like hover boots and like shoot and stuff. Like it looks fine. And yeah, I think it looks great, honestly. Like, I think like the gameplay of the show looked pretty good. Dialogue is pretty in tone with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's being written by one of the comic authors, so that's kind of cool. A lot of licensed music, so this game is definitely not gonna be like streamer friendly, but yeah, from what they showed, it actually gets my hopes up. Hopefully, we got another good Marvel game that's not just Spider-Man. Hopefully this game is able to live up to that. Probably not, but definitely got my interest peaked. Avengers was always like kind of a weird game just because of the whole multiplayer aspect of it, and we see where that ended up. So hopefully with this game being totally focused on single player and being a story-driven experience, it ends up being way better than Avengers is. So yeah, and the only reason I think people are really pissy about it is because they showed like 20 minutes of gameplay on this at the Square presentation, and people weren't happy about that. But I was pretty like intrigued with it the whole time, so I wasn't really that pissed off about it. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty optimistic about this game. Hopefully it's good, but I guess we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah, I just think that, all of these Marvel games, aside from Spider-Man, because there have been so many iterations of Spider-Man that they were able to create like their own version of Peter Parker and actually create their own version of Spider-Man, and I think that with Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, they obviously have to sort of pull stuff from the movies to make it sell, if you will. Just because like that's the way most people know these characters. They know the Avengers through the movies, they know the Guardians of the Galaxy through the movies, and you can say the same thing with Spider-Man, but Spider-Man he has multiple different versions of him in the movies. He has a bunch of sort of other games, other cartoon shows, etc., and I'm sure that Avengers and Guardians obviously do have that stuff too. It's just that it's not to the same extent that Spider-Man does, because Spider-Man's definitely the biggest hero in Marvel. So yeah, it's a little unfair to say, but I just hope that this game is good. That's all I can really say, because my first impression of it was like it doesn't really look that great from screenshots. Obviously, I literally just so everyone knows, I didn't watch like any like E3 like press conference or anything. I literally only watched Nintendo's, and that was like not even all of it. So, work got me fucked up, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's actually a smart thing I never even thought of the, Spider-Man has always had a bunch of iterations that all these other Marvel characters really don't. They just have their comic form and their MCU, like, I guess, like, thing. So,
Hmm.
making a game off of it, obviously going to take a lot of inspiration from, like, the MCU because that's, like, the most popular iteration of, like, those characters. So yeah, I never really thought of it like that. And it's not like Star Wars where you could be like, oh, this is like, it doesn't have to focus on like Skywalkers or whatever. It could be whatever because the universe is so big.
Hmm.
With Marvel stuff, you have to focus on the heroes because that's like the main point. So try to get their personality to be their own and not just a copy of the MCU or the comics is hard. So yeah, I didn't really even think about how hard it is to make like a superhero game or like a Marvel game in general while sort of taking a lot of cues from the MCU. But yeah, that's definitely something they gotta figure out though. So hopefully this game does that
Yeah.
because I think this game has some potential. So I'm looking forward to it, but definitely a game I'll wait for reviews for. um, so yeah, and the next thing to show was the Marvel's Avengers, the Black Panther expansion, which is coming out August of this year. And yeah, I mean it's basically Avengers. It's still the Avengers game, but you have to play as Black Panther and you have to explore Wakanda, which is cool. I guess this is like the really big expansion they've been working on for a while because all the other ones are just like, oh, here's Hawkeye or whatever, like just here's like a small like sort of mission mode or whatever. This one seems to be like a big expansion for the game. So hopefully this does well for Avengers and can have a breath of fresh air for this game in particular. Because I don't know if they're even going to continue after this. I know they want to release Spider-Man and stuff, but I don't know if they could afford the development costs at this point because the game really didn't even sell that well when it first came out, and players keep dropping. No one's probably buying any microtransactions for this game, so I don't know how they could really afford to continue development at this point. So I think this is their big break they want, to just continue the game. If not, then I think they might just stop. Like I don't even think they're gonna get up to Spider-Man, but I guess we're gonna have to see. The game just does not have a lot of good wishes for a lot of people. So, a lot of people just want it to fail. So I guess we'll see what happens with this expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely one of those people that was, I almost bought it when they announced Spider-Man, but I'm like, this shit's gonna go on sale, like 100%. So like, I'll just
Yeah.
wait for like a really, really good deal and then I'll buy it. But anyways, the Black Panther expansion, I think that, like you said, this is probably their biggest one yet, just because it is Black Panther, and Black Panther has become one of the bigger Marvel heroes because of the movies. And the antagonist, like all I know is that someone on Twitter said, "Why is Nathan Drake in the Black Panther expansion?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fucking Nathan Drake." But yeah, I mean, I have no expectations for it. I don't have this game, it's just a matter of if the players that already have this game and are still playing it, even if they are, is this going to be a worthy enough of reason to jump back in and continue playing, So hopefully it is because, I don't like seeing shit fail, but, hopefully it does the job, if you will. All right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. Next up we got here is Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which was actually kind of controversial when it was announced. So
Yeah.
I'll try to break it down, but maybe I'll just hand it off to you and
Yeah.
you do it. But first, it's a remaster of Final Fantasy 1 through 6. It's pretty much just Pixel remastering it. I guess it's going to be released on PC and mobile. No console release, and it is coming soon. So
Yeah. So people were really upset when this showed up because people they were super hype at first because Final Fantasy 1 through 6 remastered. What the hell? That's sick. Because all we have is the shitty like mobile ports on Steam and stuff. But then they showed like no real gameplay of any of them. Like you could kind of see it in the background when they're like kind of like showing a bunch of images of them, but like not really. Like they didn't really like show like what the game would actually look like remastered. Just that it's coming and it's coming only for PC and mobile, no consoles for some reason.
Mhm.
And it's not release date either. Also, you have to buy each of them individually. They don't come in like a full collection. So yeah, like so many people were hype, and then all of it went away as soon as the trailer ended. So yeah, I don't know how this is actually gonna work. Like, if you actually do need to buy each of them individually, I don't know why it's not on consoles. Like, why? And again, they didn't show like anything of it. Like, you only see like a little bit of it in the background, and it looks alright, I guess, but I can't really like make too much of a big picture of it. Like the UI looks more in line with the Super Nintendo NES versions of the games, but I don't know, man. I don't know why they didn't just show a full like screenshot of like what the games would look like. Maybe they're not confident in how it's gonna look like or what. Like, and again, the fact that it's not on like Switch or consoles in general is also just like baffling. So a lot of people again were very excited for this, and then ended up not being very excited for it once the trailer was over, because it didn't really explain anything besides we're remastering Final Fantasy 1 through 6, but it might just be like more like really shitty like ports of the games. So yeah, really disappointing on that one.
Yeah, because I know that people's main concern was the fact that it was coming to mobile, and when it comes to mobile,
Yeah.
it's because the mobile versions are going to be ports for, or the mobile version will then be ported to the PC because that's
Mhm.
not what they originally developed it for, or some shit. I forget, but yeah, that was definitely like the main controversial thing that I saw. I was like, wow, and it's not even like a bundle or like a collection or anything like that. You literally have to buy the games individually.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what Square is thinking. Like, sometimes and this is probably why people hated the Square conference so much. Was also because of this. Because there's like no decent like remasters of Final Fantasies 5 through or 5 and 6. Like they're both like the shitty like mobile version that's like really bad.
Hmm.
That's why I played the GBA versions of both, because like they were just better like games than the ones on Steam. At least like 4, 3, and then 1 and 2 have like a bunch of good ways to play them, but 5 and 6 have like just the shitty mobile one, and that's it. So now that we don't even know what it's gonna look like with this Pixel remaster, which doesn't even really mean anything, is I don't know. It's just really weird. It was a really weird announcement. So, but I guess for another remaster collection, we got Life is Strange remaster collection. So this is gonna have almost a Final Fantasy, Life is Strange one and Before the Storm, and they're both obviously have remastered them to look a lot better. The graphics look better, the lip syncing is a lot better. All the things you would expect from a remaster. Which is good, because I actually forgot how ugly the game looked
Oh yeah.
before.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, damn, these games kind of look bad when I didn't notice it until like they showed it. So it's pretty neat for people that want to get into Life is Strange. I still think Life is Strange 1 is the best one, so it's definitely worth playing. I like Before the Storm as well. I like it more than 2, that's for sure. So yeah, I definitely think this is worth getting if you want to get into the series. Definitely think the first one is worth playing like a lot. So if you haven't played these games already, I think this is the best way to play them, and it's coming out on September 30th. So
Yeah, it's 20 days, 20 days after the Life is Strange True Colors comes out, which is the newest
yeah.
game that we'll talk about in just a bit. But yeah, I think remastering these games in particular, especially Life is Strange 1, is kind of needed because, like we said, the first game was, whew, that game did not look good whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I still played it. I still enjoyed what the story was and the sort of concept of rewinding time and sort of seeing every single choice that you make matter to a certain extent, and you can actually choose between both choices once you see both outcomes and everything like that. So yeah, and I think that people know that like Life is Strange, people love Chloe and Max, and that's sort of the heart of the series. Even today, even after Life is Strange 2 came out, sadly, there are people out there that like Sean and Daniel, and more power to them. Me personally, me personally, I'm a little indifferent about them just because it just didn't work for me. But yeah, Life is Strange Remastered Collection, it is cool to see, and these are also coming to Switch, which is something that they pointed out during the Direct. So I'm honestly very curious on how those are gonna perform, because most of the time when stuff comes to the Switch, it's not all that great, but
No.
remastered collection is coming out September 30th, and then the True Colors Life is Strange 3, if you will, is going to come out September 10th, which they sort of showed more of the game and gave us another trailer of it, and I'm still very much excited for it, not just because the main character is of Asian descent, but also just because of how I guess more grounded this one feels compared to the previous Life is Strange game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like we said when they first revealed the game, we both like how the game is basically set in one place and you don't move around everywhere.
Hmm.
So because you actually get to know the characters in the town you're in. That's why I liked Tell Me Why so much, because it was basically how voice crack. Basically how Life is Strange 1 felt. You were in that one town, you got to know everyone. It was great. I think that's what Life is Strange is really good at. So now that True Colors is doing the same thing, I'm very excited for it. Obviously, I don't want it to be too much of treading the same ground as the first game, but it looks like with the whole, I guess, emotion power, it seems it's going to set it apart a lot. And again, like I said with Life is Strange 2, when we were talking about that, I really didn't like telekinesis as a power because it was too bombastic. Like you can't really use it till the end. This one seems a lot more like how the first game was, where it's a lot more subtle. You could get to know things about a character, just like how with time travel you could like see how they would respond and go back in time. Like, oh, okay, I can't do that or whatever. This game you could just see how they're feeling and then make your decisions based on that. Like I think it's a really unique power and I like it a lot. I think that's perfect for a game like this, and I'm pretty excited for this game now. It's coming out September 10th, so yeah, if you get like the Ultimate Edition, which comes with a remaster collection, you won't get that till like 20 days later. But whatever.
At least you're getting it, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely Life is Strange 2 colors. It looks promising from Life is Strange fans like ourselves.
Yeah, because the second one wasn't very good. I guess I could talk about the next one. So, Stranger in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins. So, you guys heard me talk about it in the beginning of the show. I think the demo does a lot to sort of like rebuild its image, but this trailer sucks. Basically showed the game in a really bad light. It was very edgy. The main character is just like this white dude with a t-shirt and jeans, like just going to fight chaos. He really doesn't shut the fuck up about chaos. He really wants to kill chaos. And yeah, that's about it. Basically, it's supposed to be like I guess a backstory for Final Fantasy One, where again Chaos is the final boss for that game, and Garland, which is like the dude you see in the trailer, is like sort of like I guess the like the vessel for him to go into or some shit like that. It's weird. But basically, yeah, it's supposed to be like that. Just like a Ninja Theory Dark Souls game is basically what the game was advertised as, and that's what it is. Again, I explained this during when I talked about the demo, and I think the game is actually pretty fun. But yeah, again, the trailer doesn't do a lot of good for it. A lot of people are memeing on it. The game does look a little bad, like graphically, and it still kind of does. But hopefully, Team Ninja could like take that into account and sort of fix the gameplay problems with it. But I think, Nomura, the guy who like directs most Final Fantasy games and is the sort of like character designer for a lot of them, he said he just wants to make a story about an angry man, and this is what we got. So I guess he's fulfilling that promise. So I'm definitely gonna give the game a chance. Again, I'm probably not gonna play it during when it comes out because it's probably gonna have a lot of issues. But I'm definitely interested. I always like Final Fantasy spin-offs because they do a lot of weird shit, and I like sort of the job systems they always add in like spin-offs because that's like my favorite system in any Final Fantasy game. So yeah, I'm liking the gameplay, but we just gotta see like the story and stuff, which is probably not gonna be great, but it's also not really the focus of the game. But we'll see. I think a lot of people's opinions are changing now that they played the demo. A lot more people are more excited for it. But yeah, definitely when they first showed this, not a good look. So yeah.
Yeah.
No release date either. So
Yeah.
2022.
The top comment is something tells me this guy wants to kill chaos. So
Yeah.
No opinion on it for me personally, but I think that the I guess concept of like a sort of beat 'em up hack and slash Final Fantasy game, makes sense. And if they wanted to make a origin story, it probably makes more sense. So yeah, and then that's all I can really say.
It's also, I guess it's like an isekai also because that's like, oh, these guys get transported. Yeah, I think it's really weird, but yeah.
Next thing we got here is Sonic Colors Ultimate Edition. We got some gameplay of it. It was just like a Tropical Resort Act 2. And yeah, I mean, for one, the game looks good in my opinion. I mean, like I know Sonic Twitter's actually crazy out here thinking that the game looks worse than the original, but it's in HD, guys. Come on, guys. It can't look that bad just because like certain colors are darker or like the game itself just looks darker in general. I don't think that really takes it away from how good the game actually looks. I think that obviously look, it looks shiny and pretty, and that obviously doesn't take away from the fact that some areas do look darker and whatever, but that could just be how the shadows are. It is what it is. I think that Sonic Colors Ultimate Edition is not even fucking out yet, and people are goddamn complaining about it, but I think that for what it is, it's a remaster of Sonic Colors. I think that it'll do just fine because, these Sonic fans that are complaining about it are probably still going to goddamn buy it. So, and yeah, I think that just this one level that we got just reminded me how quick and fast Sonic Colors is. Like this game 100% didn't take more than like 4 to 5 hours to complete, I'm pretty sure, when we first played it all of those years back. And, it's probably going to be the same thing because it is literally just a remaster, but it was still a lot of fun and still one of the better, I guess, modern Sonic games out there. So
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything you said. I think the game looks good. I think people are just complaining. It's probably just like different lighting and stuff because I don't know if they switch engines or what.
Hmm.
Again, the game is on weaker hardware. Even at the time, like the Wii was like a very weak console, so it probably is gonna look a bit different once ported to like more HD console, or I guess HD consoles in general. Like, the Wii was still like non-HD, so there probably is gonna be some changes to like the lighting and stuff, and just how the game looks. So this is probably how the game was always supposed to look if it was on like 360 or something. Um, but yeah, it definitely looks great. Sonic Colors is one of the better Sonic games that has come out in recent years. I mean, Sonic Generations and Colors are probably regarded as like the best 3D Sonic games, and I agree with that.
Hmm.
I think Sonic Adventure 2 and 1 but definitely aged really badly now that we have played it multiple times after not being like a kid. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this. It's actually nice it's at like a discounted price of $40 instead of like a $60 game because Colors is a really short game and it's pretty old at this point. So it's nice that it's not like a full like $60. And yeah, I'll probably end up getting it as well because I really like Sonic Colors and hopefully the new Sonic game is also good. But can't really say anything about that.
Yeah, I just think that it's a remaster, guys. It's gonna look different either way, for better or for worse. Like things are gonna be different. So
Again, people complain a lot. Speaking of complaining, and actually people weren't complaining that much. Kazuya joined Smash from Tekken.
there were some people complaining, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, there's always gonna be people complaining. It wasn't as bad with Pyra and Mithra and stuff. My girls and the guys that way. I'm gotta be mean on them. But anyway, so Kazuya joined Smash from Tekken. Obviously, I don't know too much about Tekken, but it's really neat to see, like, basically Smash has all the big Japanese fighting games. Like, they have SNK with Terry, Street Fighter with Ryu and Ken, and now Tekken with Kazuya. Like, they basically got everyone, like, from, like, the big Japanese fighting games, which is really cool to see. Obviously, I really only know Heihachi, which he shows up as a background character. Like, I guess it's, like, another character. I know he throws people off, like, volcanoes and stuff. I know about that. So that was a really funny reveal trailer. Just throwing all the Smash characters in the freaking volcano. But in terms of like his moves and stuff, like it looks like whack. Like he's like doing like 10-hit combos and all this crazy stuff. It's always cool to see when an actual fighting game character is in Smash because they have all this crazy tech and stuff they could do, like all this crazy combos that wouldn't normally be in a Smash character. So yeah, it's really cool to see him move about and stuff. Obviously, I'm always bad at these type of characters, like Terry and Ryu and Ken. So I'm not like that excited just because I'm bad at them. But it's definitely a cool thing. I think having Tekken representation is a really like cool thing to have, and I'm very happy that he's in here in general. So yeah, again, I'm not like losing my mind like I did with Pyra Mithra or Sephiroth, where I was like, yo, holy shit. But it's still really neat to see him in here. So
yeah, I think that his reveal trailer where he literally just throws everyone off was just hilarious. That's the first thing. Second, I think that having a Tekken representative, I'm fine with. Honestly, any third-party characters that like doesn't have a sort of representative within the game yet, I'm 100% fine with. Even Steve, to a certain extent, despite the aftermath of him coming out and him just being like a fucking monster of a goddamn character because his goddamn kit's overloaded. But seeing Kazuya in Smash, I was like, oh, okay, like that's cool. Like that was like my first initial reaction, and then I see people on Twitter and some people at my job that were like, hey, like I'm not sure about it. I'm like, oh well, he's from Tekken, right? Like might as well put him in there, right? So I don't see any huge issues with it. But it is what it is, and I think that the last one with him trying to throw Kirby off was really funny.
Yeah.
that one really got me because I'm like, he's just gonna float back, right? And I'm like, where is he gonna float back? So when he like peered from the backside of the sort of cliff, I was like, okay, that was clever. Yeah, I think that people that are complaining about it probably don't realize how big fucking Tekken is. Like Tekken is a huge ass fighting game, and I follow this one guy on Twitter who does like Dragon Ball Fighter videos, and he was like, yo, Kazuya's in Smash, am I gonna play Smash now? Like that's probably their goal of like putting in all of these characters in Smash, is to get someone that hasn't played it yet, or hasn't played the newer one yet, to get in here and maybe even try Kazuya and all of these other characters. So that's what Smash is, guys. Smash is kind of like a big advertisement for all of these other games as well. So
yeah, basically.
Next one we got here is Mario Party Superstars. I think fucking everyone saw this shit coming when they just randomly dropped a sort of online update for Super Mario Party. So yeah, this is pretty much Super Mario Party 2, except that they are calling it Superstars, and they are taking a lot of the old boards and throwing them into this one, which I am fine with because Nintendo doesn't fucking know how to make Mario Party games these days. I don't know what it is.
Yep.
I have no idea what it is. Ever since Hudson died, they just don't know how to make a good Mario Party game. So they were just like, fuck it. We'll just take the old boards and then we'll just, paste them in and then just put in new mini games, or even just like take the old ones, just paste them back in, like whatever, and then just make it HD, which I'm fine with. I'm honestly 100% okay with that because playing the older Mario Party games is such a hassle. Like
Yes.
I have them. Like I have 4 N64 controllers. I have a N64. Obviously, I have two of the games. I have Mario Party 1 and 3, but just like playing that with your friends, especially when people are still afraid of COVID, like it is just so fucking hard. You can do emulation, and I'm sure that there's ways to do emulation online, but just having like this game come out, which is supposed to come out October 29th of this year, which I think is a pretty good time. Like that's sort of like holiday season, but not exactly. So I think that a lot of people are going to be buying this game, and they are going to be playing it online, and I think that will be a lot of fun because online Mario Party is still like a foreign thing to a lot of people, because they haven't, tried emulation or whatever the case is. And I'm sure that there have been a lot of people because of this pandemic that haven't played Mario Party in general in like however many years, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically like a day one buy for me. So, like, this is literally everything I would want. Like, I wish it was more boards. There's only 5 boards, which is really lame.
Yep.
But the all from like the N64 games, all the mini games are as actually I think the mini games are from the whole series as well.
Mm-hmm.
You remember they did that 3DS game where it was just
Yes.
like, oh, we have all the
Yes.
best things, but only the mini games. Like that's so stupid. So I'm glad they're doing that idea again, but making it exactly what we wanted. Like this is literally what I want. Stars of 20 coins again. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming Boo's gonna be like a big threat again. Like it's just so great. I'm like, damn, they're actually making a good Mario Party and it's gonna have online. That's insane to me. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. And hopefully the online is good. I mean, I've been hearing the Super Mario Party Online is pretty good, so hopefully that transfers to Superstars because I am very much excited for this. This is something Mario Party needed forever, and it was as simple as just recycling N64 stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, I think that them just copy and pasting stuff, only fucking Nintendo can get away with it without people really complaining about it that
Yeah.
much, because once they complain about it, that they're also going to be the ones to buy it as well, which is why like I'm not complaining about it. I'm just going to like take it in and just be like, yep, like this is exactly what we wanted from a new Mario Party experience, because Nintendo, for whatever goddamn reason, don't know how to just like copy and paste stuff, but not exactly copy and paste stuff, but like like copy and paste stuff and like make it new, if you will. And like you said, me and Kofi were talking about this, about like the whole like they literally just like copy and pasted like what they did for that 3DS game, and just like took the mini games and then just reported them over for the Switch. Like
Yeah.
why not just do that? I mean, it makes sense. Like that game probably didn't sell all that well. You might as well just take these assets and just paste them into this game, which I am fine with. I think that this game, for what it is, a lot of people are going to buy it. They might not be happy with how they're doing it, but I think that this is a way for Nintendo to sort of, I guess, be self-aware that they don't know what they're doing with the Mario Party series as of right now in terms of like new ideas. So
Yeah, I mean, like, Super Mario Party was really close to being good,
mm-hmm.
but was missing a lot. So I'm glad they finally just like, all right, screw it. We're just doing like the original games again. Again, it was what everyone wanted. I would still like to see new boards that aren't like bad. So hopefully like Super Mario Party 2 or whatever, like just is just better than this as well. So and the Mario Party is definitely on the right track now, though. Like I'm happy the series isn't like in a dumpster fire like it was when Mario Party 9 came out. Like 10 was fine, I guess, but like I hated the car. So I'm glad that it's going back to the basics, and I'm very excited for it. Yeah, but there was a lot of surprises in Nintendo E3 because the biggest one
Mm-hmm.
is Metroid Dread, which is coming out October 8th. So this is the fifth mainline Metroid game coming out. So if you don't know how it works, is like you have the original Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, and then Metroid Fusion. So Fusion came out like 2002. So that was technically like the last game in the timeline. The Prime games, even though like Metroid Prime 3 came out 2007. Those games are like slotted in between like Metroid Prime like 2 and 3, I think, or 1 and 2, I forget. But basically this is like the first game since Fusion that's like sort of moving the timeline forward. So it's a pretty big deal, and it's a bigger deal because this was actually a canceled Metroid DS game, which was supposed to come out in like 2006 or something.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of hints in Prime 3 where it was like a sort of like a log entry that said Project Metroid Dread is nearing completion, and obviously that never happened. So a lot of people speculated for years where the hell the Dread went. Like, it was just a canceled DS game and stuff like that. Until, everyone just forgot about it. Until this trailer came out, and then the main man, the director, Sakamoto, was like, yeah, we did kind of cancel it back like 15 years ago, but we didn't we didn't think we had the technology to make this idea work, which a lot of people think is kind of bullshit. Like, people think he just kind of didn't want to do it. But anyway, but now we're getting Dread for real. So this is Metroid Dread, the thing that's been canceled for like years, and it looks really good. It's made by the same developers that made the Metroid 2 remake on 3DS, Mercury's team.
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell because it has like that melee counter move and stuff like that. Like, it looks like Metroid Prime. I'm sorry, I keep saying Prime. Metroid 2 on the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard from a lot of people that remake was really good.
Yes.
So I'm happy that they have, they have the reins of the series now, I guess, or at least the 2D games anyway. And hopefully this is sort of like a rebirth of the Metroid series. Because I always consider Metroid to be like the third biggest franchise for Nintendo. They just don't treat it like that. So hopefully Metroid can get the love it deserves. I'm actually playing through Zero Mission right now, and it's fantastic. So. I really wanted to like finish at least all the 2D games before this game comes out, which really shouldn't be hard because they aren't that long. But yeah, from what I'm seeing, it looks really good, and obviously people are very excited. My brother freaked out when he saw it because he's a big Metroid fan, so I'm very happy for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that they were like, like, hey guys, Metroid Prime 4, we're still working on it. Cha-ching, and then it was like, but we got something else. I was like, oh shit! So they got another Metroid game. And then they started showing this, and I was like, oh, okay. First up, the suit looks fucking fire. I like the suit.
Yeah, I like the suit too.
Red, white, and blue. Not to be, be like Kona American, but I think it looks good on Samus. Gonna be honest. And then when we saw gameplay of it, I was like, this looks like the Metroid Samus Returns, the Metroid 2 remake. I was like, this looks very familiar. Yeah. And then she did like the counter attack. I was like, this is fucking it. Like, this is fucking it. So I was like, all right, well, I'm down because I didn't finish that game, but I had a lot of fun playing it just because it felt very good to control and sort of just like, get into. I'm one of the culprits that have never finished a Metroid game yet, but I'm still gonna buy this game day one for the culture, if you will, because this is a new fucking Metroid game, and the fact that it is sort of moving along the timeline sort of as Metroid 5, I think that is very exciting, and I think that Metroid fans should get all of the support and love from I guess the other Nintendo fans, because I think that, Metroid as a series, has been kind of dead in the water for a bit. So I'm glad that, I hope that this game does really, really well, and I'm definitely going to be buying it day one. Whether I get to it or not is, another question, but I definitely want to try this one out because just how the controls and how Metroid Samus Return felt, I really liked. I just couldn't get into it for whatever reason. So maybe that'll change with this game. Who knows? It is going to be on the Switch on a home console, if you will, and with HD graphics and all of that other stuff. So I'm excited to see how well this game does because I think that this one can really make moves for the Metroid series if it does really, really well.
Yeah, and I hope it does because, Metroid's been kind of in a rut lately, so I'm happy that it's sort of returning to form. So yeah, very excited for that.
Next one we got here is WarioWare Get It Together. This game I was also kind of excited about because I was like, another WarioWare game, I think that the WarioWare game on the Wii U was good for however much we played of it. That one had some really fun and really cool mini games to, mess around with, but obviously that replay value sort of died down because there's only so much you can really do with that game. So this one, it looks like it's more of the sort of, I guess, classic WarioWare stuff where it's just a bunch of micro games. And some people are complaining that it's going to be $50, but all I remember is that on Twitter, there was someone that reposted the survey about it was very clear that they were talking about WarioWare. They didn't say that it was WarioWare. Is how much would you pay for a micro sort of based mini games, and then they threw $50 on there, and then someone was like, whoever said yes to this fucking survey, I hate you. because $50 is definitely asking for a little much for a game like this. But there is going to be multiplayer mini games, which I think is going to be interesting. I don't think there have been multiplayer mini games in the WarioWare series before. I could be wrong, but yeah, this one seems to be more of the same WarioWare stuff. Different characters will do different things to solve the different micro games, and I think that that'll be very, very fun. So yeah, I think that I'm actually kind of excited for this one. This one's going to come out on September 10th, which is relatively soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this as well. I love WarioWare. I love the original Game Boy Advance one. I played a lot of the WarioWare DIY on DS. I
Mm-hmm.
love that one as well, where you can make your own micro games. So yeah, I've always been like a pretty like I want to say big fan. I've always been a fan of the series. So seeing it come back on the Switch is great. I think it's really cool how like each character could again solve the micro games in different ways. I'm hoping it has online. I don't think it will, but it would be pretty cool if it did. Since it's also advertised as being like a multiplayer thing, where you can have multiple people do things. And yeah, I think this is the first game or first WarioWare game that was on the Wii U that like had multiplayer. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool to see as well. At least it is a discounted price of $50 and not 60, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if it's good, then I'll probably get it. But we'll see. I love WarioWare. It kind of just depends on the content and how much is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I've always had a lot of hours of fun with the original one. So I guess we'll see when the game comes out on September 10th.
Yep.
But definitely a nice surprise as well. Speaking of, well, we haven't actually seen anything about this game in a long time. So SMT5 or Shin Megami Tensei 5
Mm-hmm.
finally got a release date of December 11th. This game was shown in the original Switch presentation.
It's actually
and just now coming out.
November 12th. I think you
Oh.
I think you switched the numbers around, but it's okay.
Oh, whoops. November. Yeah, it was November 12th, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know why I put that. Anyway, well, it's coming out soon. And yeah, we haven't seen this game since they did a little presentation on I think like a few months ago where they just showed like some more stuff about the game, but it was absent for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we see it, it looks really good. Graphically, I think it looks really good. Basically, if you don't know what SMT is, it's basically the mainline Persona game. Basically, this is the Persona is technically a spin-off of SMT, which is why the combat kind of looks a little familiar. The game, primarily focuses more on like the monster catching side of things, where it plays a lot more like Pokemon, where your team members aren't like actual people, like they're all the demons you recruit and stuff. The main character could do stuff as well, like he could negotiate with the demons and like get them on your side. You could fuse demons like how you would in Persona and stuff. So the game is definitely focused a lot more on dungeon crawling and stuff, and its story is a lot more, I guess, abstract and a little weirder than Persona is, which is a lot more simpler to understand. But I'm very excited for this since I love the Persona series like a lot, and I have not have a chance to play an SMT game yet. So I'm very excited to hop into this one and really see what it's all about. So yeah, very excited for it. I think the game looks great, and the yeah, I think it just looks really good. And the main character makes me feel weird. I'm like, that's a guy, right? I'm like,
Yeah, is that a guy? Is that a girl? Who the hell knows? But yeah.
We respect it all the same.
Love is love. Never forget it. Shin Megami Tensei. I believe I played Shin Megami Tensei 4 on the 3DS, whichever one
Yeah, it was
that
on
was.
3DS, that's right.
And I was not into it, gonna be honest. And I'm
Yeah.
sure it's because of how the gameplay works and everything like that. But yeah, I think that seeing another Shin Megami Tensei game, because I know that the fan base is so like, I guess, small, I know the game is kind of exciting. So, happy for them. It is gonna come out November 12th. So yeah, that is kind of soon. Hopefully no delays for any of the games we talked about. Next announcement we got here is Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. So this game is kind of interesting because I think that, Advance Wars were pretty popular on the Game Boy, and I'm sure that GBA to be exact.
Game Boy Advance.
And I'm pretty sure that these games, if you were to go on eBay, they probably sold for like a lot of money. I'm actually going to do a quick Google search when I get you to talk in just a bit. But yeah, I think that these are pretty much just like RPGs, right? Just pretty much just like Fire Emblem or whatever.
They're like more, yeah, they're more tactics games because Fire Emblem, because they were both made by Intelligent Soft, which both made Fire Emblem in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Fire Emblem is a lot more of an RPG plus tactics game. Obviously it has the tactic elements you would expect, but your characters level up and all the typical RPG stuff from Fire Emblem. This game is a lot more sort of like an RTS plus tactics game where you have resource management, where you capture cities and stuff, and you get more gold over time based on how many like cities you have. You can capture factories where you can use that money to buy more units, which is something you obviously can't do in Fire Emblem. And your hero unit is basically like abstract, like they don't actually like exist on the battlefield. Instead you like fill up a gauge and you're able to do a special like sort of like power that enhances your army. So yeah, the game is a lot more like, I guess, like StarCraft plus like in our a tactics game. So that's basically what the gameplay is. I played Wargroove, which was an indie game that came out a bit ago. That's for like a wanted to be Advance Wars, but like still did some things differently. And it was really good. I really liked the gameplay. Wargroove was very hard though, and I never like played more of it. I know Advance Wars I think has a better like difficulty curve than that game does. I know these games get hard as well, but I think having a better difficulty curve would be better. And I think the game just looks great. It's made by Way Forward. I think is doing the remake, which is great. We love Way Forward.
Mm-hmm.
I love Shantae and stuff. Graphically, I think the game looks great. I love the portraits. Like it has like a weird 2D, 3D thing going
Mm-hmm.
on, and it looks really good. Like I really like how all the characters look. So it's just bright and colorful. And I saw the Treehouse presentation of it as well, and it just looks really fun. Again, I'm always down for tactics games, and this game looks really good. Obviously I never played the first two on the GBA, so I'm happy to experience this remake as a fresh eyes on this. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think that this might be a day one purchase for me as well. Just because I just like the art style. You know me, I like cutesy shit, and I definitely like the way that they decided to remaster this. Like you said, the sort of like 2D, 3D portraits is definitely an interesting look. I'm sure that there's some people that really don't like it, but I think that it kind of works here because it does make the characters look a little bit more animated than just them being like a still sort of like 2D image. But yeah, the gameplay, it looks like a lot of fun. There's going to be some strategy tactics here, but also sort of have that sort of like what's it called, how are you describing it earlier?
Resource management.
Yep, all that other stuff. So I think that this game can be a lot of fun, so I'm actually looking forward to this one.
Yeah, a lot of good surprises.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking, I mean, this wasn't really a surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
you got Breath of the Wild too.
if this wasn't at the end of it, I think a lot of people would have lost their shit. So, but people still lost their shit because it was there.
Yeah, he just shows up. He's like, "No, we're still not showing Breath of the Wild 2." But I mean, technically, they still haven't even shown the title of this trailer. Like in the trailer, they show a bunch of cool stuff, which I'll talk about. But the game still was just said like nothing. It's like they Nintendo has said they don't want to show the subtitle for this game because it would give too much away.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder like when we're gonna see the title for this thing. I don't know if it's directly like gonna be related to like Skyward Sword or some weird shit like that. But for right now, we're still calling it Breath of the Wild 2, and it has a release date of 2022 right now. We don't know if that's actually gonna happen, but I hope they're aiming for it.
Mm-hmm.
And for the trailer itself, it looks great. Link has like a cool like metal arm now, I guess. And he's like free falling, and there's like sky islands now. So again, that's why I say like it could be linked to Skyward Sword in some ways, because like there's a whole place above Hyrule now.
Mm-hmm.
And Link is doing a lot of cool things with his arm. I guess that's the replacement for the Sheikah Slate now, because I see he was doing stasis and stuff with his arm and stuff, like pulling out like the gamepad or whatever. And then like the castle, like Ganon's castle, I guess Hyrule Castle, like starts like floating with darkness and stuff, and then it just ends like that. So it wasn't a whole lot, but it's still like, hey, the game's coming out and it looks great still. But yeah, there isn't like too much to really go into besides like Link has a cool arm now, I guess.
Yeah, I think that a sequel to Breath of the Wild in general is exciting, just because that game was probably a lot of people's favorite 3D Zelda game, and they did so much to make that game as big and as robust as it was. Them sort of like throwing it all away and moving on to another game would have been, I guess, a waste. So them just sort of retooling some things and sort of reusing certain aspects from Breath of the Wild to make this sequel to it, as they're calling it, because like you said, they haven't revealed the subtitle to it. They haven't even officially called it Breath of the Wild 2. That's just what everyone calls it, because it's just a faster way than saying sequel to Zelda Breath of the Wild, But yeah, I think that the metal arm is interesting. I think that could be a very cool look for Link, and I think that replacing the Sheikah Slate is probably a good alternative, as it is sort of trying to build off of what Breath of the Wild already sort of transitioning that into this game, but doing it I guess differently narratively instead of the Sheikah Slate with the arm, I think is cool. But yeah, I think that people that are excited for this, they were already excited before this even came out. So 2022, I wonder how that is going to hold true, because I'm pretty sure Zelda games are notorious for being delayed, especially the big ones. So hopefully this is like a holiday 2022 game, just to like be safe.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna be like, it's coming out December like 31st. It's like, see, we made it, guys. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a really late game. Like, definitely gonna be November or December even. So, I wouldn't hold your breath yet for getting this game like soon. But from what they're showing, I love Breath of the Wild. I don't know if it's my favorite 3D Zelda. I mean, it probably is, but I love Wind Waker a lot. So, but that's probably nostalgia talking, if anything. But yeah, Breath of the Wild 2 still looks great. I'm very excited for it, whatever the hell it's going to be called. And, I just think Nintendo had like a really good E3. Like, just a lot of really cool announcements, a lot of things I didn't expect to see, like get revivals and stuff. It was honestly like, it was the best E3 presentation that anyone else had. I thought Microsoft was pretty good as well. They showed a lot of games, but a lot of them were like nothing trailers. Which is why I didn't even put them here, because I'm like, well, there's not really much to talk about. Like, they showed Outer Worlds 2, and they showed Redfall, which was like a new game by Arcane. But again, there's like, I have nothing to say because it's just a CG trailer. There's not really much to talk about. So yeah, overall, I thought the E3 this year was pretty good. I know some people are really down on it because they didn't show as much as people wanted and stuff. But it's like, I remember, like, COVID was a thing that happened last year, and we're not gonna really see the effects of development time until games coming out now or even next year. They probably didn't have a lot to show because everyone was working at home. There was a lot of weird things happening, and it was 2020. So yeah, it was obviously like gonna be a little gimp this year than usual. And I mean, this E3 wasn't even really supposed to happen, but then it ended up happening. So the companies decided to throw some things together, and then there you go. Like, I'm not saying I don't excuse like Gearbox for having one of the shittiest conferences I ever saw in my life, but I don't get into that because they showed nothing besides Randy Pitchford being weird. But yeah, overall I thought it was pretty good because I basically watched like almost every conference, and I had a good time like usual. But guys, people gotta temper their expectations. 'Cause, the whole thing happened last year, so.
Yeah, I think that it's fine for people to have expectations. It's just that just be real with yourself when it all does come crashing down, or they are met. Just be real with yourself, and I think that I think that Nintendo's E3, because that's the only one I could really talk about, because that's the one I kind of watched live. It was definitely fun to watch, because I think them opening up with a Smash announcement definitely gets things going, and I think that always gets people excited to see what's going to come next, even if it is just a quick sizzle reel of like a bunch of third party stuff that they showed, or the next big first party game like Mario Party, WarioWare, Metroid Dread. Like, I think that seeing a lot of these games announced and sort of getting those games shown instead of like getting updates for like Splatoon 3 or anything else like that was definitely needed. Like, obviously I want to see Splatoon 3, but I can wait on that, because the jump from Splatoon 1 from 1 to 2 wasn't even all that big. So now from 2 to 3, I wonder what they're going to do. So it is what it is, but I think that them closing it out with Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 was obviously the right move, because if they didn't show that game off, Twitter and the internet would have fucking exploded from them not showing us anything, because I forget how long it's been since they showed off that game or announced it. I think it was like 2 years, because that was like the last official like E3 or whatever. So,
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think that E3, like this year for E3, I didn't even know that it was happening, but like even then I was so busy with work, it didn't even matter. But
Right.
overall, I think that, new games were announced. You got some games that you're hopefully looking forward to. If not, it is what it is, because I feel like every single year for E3, there's got to be at least one game that everyone's looking forward to if you play video games like often, if you will. Like if you're a gamer. Yeah.
Yeah, only real gamers care about it. Yeah, but I think it's just because people take E3 very seriously. I've always just liked watching it, either with friends or just watching it like whatever.
Mhm.
It's just always like a chill time. You get a bunch of cool game announcements. Again, like you said, there's always gonna be something you want to play. I just like a lot of things, so I end up liking a lot of ththings they show on E3. Like almost everything they showed at Nintendo Direct, I'm probably gonna end up buying. Even like Square had stuff that I really liked, and Microsoft as well. So, I may, because I have like a pretty varied taste in games. Like, I just like a lot of genres. But again, I think there's something for everyone. I got a little something for everything. I'm just saying. Now, obviously, people are probably gonna be very excited for Zelda or Elden Ring and stuff, but there's a lot of other cool games as well. So, yeah, take that as you will. I think E3 is always good to just have all these like little announcements or big announcements and stuff. So, even if you don't watch it, you can just look at the giant list of games coming out, and you'll find something to be hype about.
Hopefully, but I think that's all we have for today. Is there anything else you need to say, good sir?
Yeah, no, that's it. That was a really long episode.
All right, yeah. So thank you guys for listening to our big E3 episode, and we will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.